Welcome to Spurs Vision TV. Good evening to all you guys in Asia, right? Of course, good afternoon to all you guys in Europe, especially in the UK's and London, right? For Mr. K and Ian's in Scotland. I keep forgetting. Ian's in Scotland, right? And of course, good morning to all you guys if you're watching from the parts of the Americas side, right? Today we got an interesting show, right? But of course, I'll go to the first one since Dom is the guest here. He's not a Spurs fan. He's a Manchester United fan. Before we go into the fiery debate about what's happening with Tottenham Hotspur, what happened just on Saturday to our football team and football squad and manager and the owners and all that, blah blah blah. Right? We'll go to the score first, right? Manchester 3, Fulham 1. An FA Cup game that turned out to be quite nasty in the end, Dom. I didn't quite watch it because it was around what it was the late kickoff, right? Around 12:30 12:30 a.m. Malaysian time, right? So I'm not sure any of you guys from the Spurs side watched it, right? I'll go to Dom first. Dom, congratulations, you're in the semifinals, right? One more step to getting closer to another trophy since you already got the League Cup, right, in the bag. Right. Just brief us. What do you think about that game? Because a lot of people saying, I heard some comments and all that. They were saying that actually before that last period of madness that happened, right? Fulham was doing quite okay against you guys.
Yes.
Was it true, or was it like Manchester United? Was just like laying back or whatever. Whatever is whatever, right?
Let me just start off by saying that I love VAR. VAR is the best thing ever, right? We have been getting a lot of bad VAR decisions. The past couple of games and whatnot. So this time around, I think we deserve it. To get the calls that we got, right? So yeah, like you mentioned early on in the game, I think pretty much our midfield was not existence at all. Okay, right from the bat, right from the lineup, you can actually see two mistakes, personally, that I feel Erik Ten Hag made. Number one, starting Harry Maguire. I don't know why Rafael Varane is not in the squad, because he actually rested, in the game, the Europa game last on Friday morning, right? So apparently, I don't know whether he's injured or he got some kind of diarrhea or something like that. I'm not very sure, but we were actually quite disappointed when we saw Maguire starting, right? Then the second thing, it's Scott McTominay. Okay, I think a lot of our issues from the midfield is because of Scott McTominay. Every time he plays, apart from going into the advanced position whereby he's trying to string some passes, to attack and whatnot, he actually does a pretty decent job. But when it comes to defense or bringing the ball from the back, right, he literally, right, he will be hiding behind the Fulham players and whatnot. Yesterday, he was like always at the shadow of this Andreas Pereira. So that I feel was our big problem. All right, the midfield. Okay, there was no way we can actually connect the defense with the attacks apart from long balls. Okay, that was like Ole Gunnar style football back again, all together, all over again, right? And also having Harry Maguire, a big liability. He actually got a yellow card pretty early on, is it? And then because of that, our wingbacks can't bomb forward, especially Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Okay, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, no doubt, he's defensive wise is good, but going forward he's a bit suspect, in the previous seasons. But this time around we can actually see the improvements. But the moment that Harry Maguire got the yellow card, right, we can actually see this Aaron Wan-Bissaka tucking back, babysitting Harry Maguire. Okay, so I would say that these are the two main issues. That's why we actually played crappy I would say crappy and then the moment that Mitrovic actually scored that goal, right, it was actually for us, right, there was no way. We were doing a live watch along. There was no way we couldn't figure out how we can actually come back. But then from the top of our head, we were saying that we got to bring McTominay out. And then once McTominay got out of the game and Anthony came in, right, we actually see the first attack, the proper attack that we actually string up. That was actually that led to the red card incident. So there are United fans that actually say that if Sancho would have scored it, immediately instead of getting Willian's hand and whatnot, right, we could have struggled after that. So it was a blessing that actually Willian actually used his hand to tap the ball, playing volleyball and whatnot. I was literally shouting, that time when when Sancho missed that shot. I was like, it's an open goal, why do you miss it? Dumbass. The next thing was like, thank you Sancho, because of him. Yeah, so overall, wasn't a good game for us. Okay, then obviously once we this Fulham went down to 9 men and whatnot, and without a manager and whatnot, I mean it was easy for us then lah. So which I mean whoever who would play with 9 men right against 9 men would have been an easy job for them lah. But we'll take it lah. We'll take it lah. We'll take the win.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. Just let me give some shout out to the guys in the chats, right? Mark Swift, Swifty, big up, and Huddersfield Town, Ryan, big up, Ryan. Scott M, if you want to join us, let me know. I'll send you the link, right? And of course, Step Up Spurs is Elias over here. But to tell you the truth, right? When you sub McTominay for Anthony, man, that really hurt. Because Spurs won't have that kind of quality to sub McTominay for Anthony, that kind of quality.
But to be honest, right? I mean, this Anthony, right? Nothing to shout about, I mean, to be frank, right now, United, we don't really rate Anthony that much. McTominay, he's like pretty much, I mean, for me, he's like down the barrel, pretty much this Maguire level for me. So we don't really consider them like good quality players. Anthony, he has the potential there, but so far, all he does is actually frustrate us fans. We're calling him Gussing, Gussing, fidget spinner and whatnot, giving him all kind of names and whatnot. He has yet to prove himself to us. And if you are talking about a proper winger and whatnot, right, Pellistri is doing a much, much better job. And apparently they're in the same age. They're the same age, but we got Pellistri much, much cheaper. I think within the 20-25 mil, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but Dom, Anthony costs how much, right?
But it's not because of his abilities and whatnot. It's because of the incompetent board that we have.
We're talking about the money spent for him, right? Spurs will never get a player with that kind of money spent just to bring him in to be a sub or something like that. But of course, we spent 60 million pounds for it, 50 million pounds.
That's the fault of the owners. We could have gotten Martinez and Anthony for about 75 mil easily if we have done it earlier in the transfer window. But then they like to drag and they like to flex their whatever muscles that they think they have, and then end of the day they'll just sabotage themselves.
Okay, that's fair. I'll just go around the Spurs guys. Any of you guys watch the MU game?
The what game?
The Manchester United game.
I saw it.
Yeah. Any comments on that, Ian?
Fulham were by some distance the better side until the incident. If anything, before I got the incident, Fulham looked far more likely to get a second, which would probably have killed the game than Manchester United looked like equalising. But just on that, and I'm sure most of you have seen some of the fallout from that. I mean, first of all, it was a handball, so it was a penalty. Secondly, it was what the acronym DOGSO denied an obvious goal-scoring opportunity, so it was a red card. What Marco Silva was doing, throwing a bottle or whatever in temper before the referee had even had a look at the incident, I don't know. And then, and I say this as well as an ex-referee, what Mitrovic was doing, manhandling the referee, is another matter. So it was a total self-destruct from Fulham over something that the referee had got right. You could almost understand it, not forgive it, but understand it if the referee's given the dodgiest penalty for absolutely nothing. Typical Man United attacking the Stretford End hometown decision, but it wasn't. Referee got all of it spot on. Every referee I've seen on Twitter and what have you is praising Chris Kavanagh for the way he handled the thing. So I'm getting a lot of nods from a Man United man here. So, they got lucky, Manchester United. And I see our friend Ryan from Huddersfield, who told us one of the shows I was on a couple of weeks ago with you, Eugene, that we would have a tough game at Sheffield United. And so it proved. And, we should have been playing a semi-final yesterday, or Saturday. So, look, Man United may go on and win the cup. You'll always look back on a moment in a cup run and say that was the time we got a little bit lucky. Yeah. And King Arthur himself, welcome. And you look back, and probably Man United, if they go on and win the cup, will look back on, the way Fulham imploded like that yesterday afternoon as the moment their luck turned on this.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. And of course, a big shout out to Tony Rodriguez. Right, big up Tony. Right. All right. Any other Spurs fans watch the MU game before we move on to the more exciting subject?
I looked at the stats, and I think statistically, I agree with Ian that Fulham were the better side until that red card incident, heat map wise, and all that. I think they were kind of dominating until things went against them. It would have been interesting actually if Fulham could have gotten a draw or a victory over Man United, but tough luck, seriously. And yeah, Dom, I don't agree with you. VAR is the best of the things to happen in football because VAR was not on our side this weekend. So
we'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get
for
to that.
VAR a bit low.
If I just may add something, right? Even when they were 9 men down, right, Felhina was actually holding the midfield pretty damn good, So actually, he's a fabulous player. United should actually go for this João Felhina. Fantastic.
I've been telling Spurs fans for a while that we should actually sign him, but yeah, we are not going to sign him.
João Felhina, yeah, but depending, his age is about like 26, if I'm not mistaken, right? So we'll see how that goes there, right? All right, Dr. Ramlan, the MU game, any comments on it?
No, I just saw a flash on the bleachers bench or something, and then three red cards, including the manager. So that was shocking. Then I saw the result. Yeah, when you're two players down, it's very difficult to hold a fort. Very difficult.
Okay. And everybody welcome Rez. Meet Elias, meet Dom, and meet Dr. Ramlan, right? Right. Rez is another old long time no see friend. Hi, Rez.
Rez, we can't hear you.
Yeah, you're muted, bro.
Rez, we can't hear you.
He's going to use some sign language to talk to us today. Oh, Rez.
We can't hear you.
No.
We'll come back to him in a minute.
Yeah, we'll come back to him. All right, then, Mr. K, do you watch the game? The MU game?
I think the only thing that I was interested in was the Argy Bargy, so I'm going to watch that again, MMM style. Someone's going to recut it, remix it, and put it back up as a top 10. Rucks on the pitch. So I'll wait for that edition to come out before I dig into it. But from what I can see, if you're Man United, I think last season, every game, they were getting a penalty kick every game. So it seems to me that the legacy of Man United has finally caught itself back up again, where the VAR or the rules or something, and the rattling of the opposition is finally going to undo them. But good on them. This is about time an institution club like that decides to get a one over such a small club like Fulham. I've gone to Fulham live and watched it in the games, and their stadium is tiny. By comparison, at least it's not leaking like Arsenal Stadium.
No, it's okay. No, rest. No, we're just going through the Manchester United game because Dom is a Manchester United fan. We'll be very fast coming into the Spurs. Very fast, right? Most probably the next 2%. Arthur, any comments on the Manchester United game? You watch it?
Not really. I'm waiting to get my teeth stuck into air game. Airy Vince. I've sharpened my fangs.
Arthur Rez has just said that in the private chat. I'm only here to talk about Conte, so
we're all gnashing at the bits. We're all gnashing at the bits to talk about what's happening constantly in the media, but let's just finish going around though.
Yeah, and I guess Rez, are you there, Rez? And I think he won't want to talk about Manchester United game then. So let's get to the interesting part of this stream, right? Southampton 3, Spurs 3. Right. I'll start first. I did a watch along with Stell on Tottenham away, right? While we scored the first goal at the more or less the last few minutes of the first half. Brilliant goal by Porro, right? I'm sure you guys all will agree with me, right? Smack right down into the goal, right at the goalkeeper, right past him, straight at him. And of course, they came out second half. Within 5 minutes, they got the equalizer. We replied with 2 goals. And after that, I don't want to say that word, right? We fell back asleep again. And of course, like what Dom said, the VAR decision, right? I don't know what to say about that, right? But of course, since Dom is the guest here, Dom, did you watch the Spurs game?
I was watching it sparingly because that time I was actually live, so I was like watching it and at the same time because pretty much I wanted Southampton to draw with Spurs because going into the international break, you guys are behind us and we still have 2 games in hand. So that was what I was actually expecting. I don't want you guys to actually finish above us, is it? Yeah. So I would say that was a 50-50 type of call, VAR call. So unlucky for you guys, but I was happy. I'm happy as a neutral fan.
Bro, how can it be 50-50 lah? Sa didn't even touch the player lah. Bro. Oh dear.
No,
All right,
he did touch the player. He did touch the player, but the thing is that he was going for the ball. The ball was nearer to him than to the other guy. He did touch
but
the player.
Is that once you put your leg that high up, right, and you touch a player, right, the referee will usually make that stupid decision, right? So it is what it is, right? Because the to tell the truth, right, the scoreline in the end of the day is being overshadowed by another scenario. But of course, we just go through the game first, right? Ian, your thoughts on the game?
Where do you start? I mean, seriously, where do you start? I mean, we scored 3 times away from home, but at no point did I feel we were playing well. I was watching the a live stream, probably the same one you'd have been watching in the Far East. This one got some publicity, the Premier League feed, when Match of the Day was off here with the Gary Lineker thing. And the commentator said, I think on 76 minutes, that Southampton are looking for a consolation. And I started screaming. My partner was with me, and I started screaming at the telly. You know, this is Tottenham, 15 minutes to go. You're looking for a consolation. 2-0 was the most deceptive lead in football. And so it proved. But, I mean, maybe a bit like the Man United defeat at home a couple of years ago.
Man City.
This might prove to be something of a catalyst for the club. In the way it starts looking at things, because there is no doubt that there is something, and I've been saying this for a little while now. Rez, I haven't been on, and Arthur, I haven't been on shows with you for a little while, but there is clearly something totally dysfunctional from top to bottom of the club. I think, you know, I was starting to talk about this before we went on air. And everybody's got their agendas. We've all got our agendas. And therefore, with what Conte said, everybody's interpreting it in the way that best suits their agenda. But
we'll go to the what Conte said thing later.
Okay.
We go to the match first, right? Because what Conte said one will most probably take up the whole show. Quickly go through the match. What do you feel about it? Does it matter? After what Conte said,
of course it matters. It was scrappy. We're getting nowhere. We defend poorly. Same players making the same mistakes time and time again. I don't know what to say. I never felt comfortable in the game, even at 3-1 up. I wish I had. I wish that it had been an absolute surprise that we conceded 2 late goals. Where I don't know how we're fourth. I honestly don't know how we're fourth. And if we'd have managed to, hang on, we'd have been third. And you go, how on earth is that happening? Because we're not a good side, not playing good football.
Yeah, no. And that's what Dom has been saying, right? Didn't want us to be third going to international break. Big up to Ingwa. Ingwa is back in Kuala Lumpur. I had lunch with him today, right? Hope you're doing well, bro. Hope you're doing well, right? If you want to join me on the show, I'll send you the link. Right. The next person I'll go to, Elias. Your thoughts on the game? 3-3 Spurs.
I have no emotions, no words to describe that disappointment. Anyways, I don't think that we were the better team throughout the game. I've said that 2 times. I think it was a 50-50% sort of game. If you look at the stats, you look at all the situation, I think we really didn't deserve to win if you look at the way we played and the kind of passes that we were making. But I think the momentum went in our favor. Like the kind of shots, the chances that we had, we grabbed them. We had like 7 shots and 3 of them were on the target. No, sorry, 9 shots and 3 of them were on the target, and all those 3 on the target actually were converted into goals. So I think we just took our chances and went in our favor. Momentum wise, we could have taken the opportunity, but the momentum was in our favor for the most of the game. But we in the end failed to capitalize on it and go to see the finish line. And then the VR decision just didn't help. In all honesty, it was not the best of Spurs play. I think Southampton were the better team, in my opinion. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Dr. Ramlan, I'm sure you watched the game too, right?
I did.
And your opinion?
Basically, we had two early changes, right? With Richarlison going out.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it was. If you have any information, I'll be
Hamstring.
Richarlison hamstring, and Davis. I'm not sure what's Davis having.
I think Richarlison going out is not so much an issue because we've got cover. But when Davies goes out, our defense is a bit imbalanced. It's weakened because Perisic is not a good alternate. These days, he seems to be poor defensively, so that puts us on the back foot. So when that happens, you have to reorganize the defense in a way, not so much in terms of the tactical play, but in terms of this psychological expectation. Mentally you have to say that we have to be stronger than we usually are because we've got a sudden change enforced on us. So I think that was the early setback in the first place. Secondly, I always felt that even though we were leading 3-1, like Ian said just now, right? I never felt that we were comfortable in any way with the 2-goal cushion. And the way the Southampton players were pressing, it's like as if they really wanted to win, all right? Whereas we were just holding on. So that's the basic difference. If you're just holding on, they can smell it. And if you are just holding on, they will prevail. But if you really want to win, you press your advantage and all that, you get it. So I think the whole mental approach has to be re-examined. In my experience with teams in other sports, usually the coach will say, be careful the first 10 minutes, the last 10 minutes, right, of each half. So that is something that you have to be careful with because they scored in the first 2-3 minutes of the second half. So I think that is a coaching issue, all right? It's not so much because we can speak about it later as far as what the coach has to say later on after the match. But on the whole, I think the changes made a difference, especially in left wing back position. And after that, it's just one way after another. But one thing which we seem to have a problem with is on-field leadership. So it is something that I've noticed for a long time. Having a goalkeeper as a captain in the first place is a problem to me. It's a long time gripe with me. Secondly, with the captain of England on the field, he's a captaining by example sort of guy, right? He's not the sort of grab you by the shirt and say, look, we're playing for the badge on our chest and all that. So he's not that sort of captain. So sometimes you need to just shock people into unity. And I think that is an ongoing issue that we have to address going forward. Thank you.
All right. Mr. K, any thoughts? Mr. K.
So I did just taking myself off mute there. I didn't watch the full match when it first came out. I did watch the highlights, so I could watch it again and again from different angles and hear the commentary from the pundits and so forth. And what I have to say is that our team, in terms of individual skills, is far superior to that of Southampton. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that the individual players that we have are technically more gifted. They have that X quality about them. But what Southampton did was they played together as a team. They just before they got their second goal, they were attacking Tottenham and they were inching the ball forward, inching it forward, bit by bit by bit. In different positions, they were inching it forward. There was no speed attack. It was inch by inch, trying to put it into the right place. And what I saw from our players was a sort of lethargicness, a sort of like stand your position. There wasn't that much the body language showed me that they weren't hyped enough. And the penalty at the end, if you look at it from the replay right, it's the most bogus decision that anyone could make, and it's almost a case of like the referee, like I'm not saying this is true, but if you just imagine that someone put £1 million in your pocket and say, listen, look for any opportunity what you can that you can give a penalty, then that particular penalty was that, where the ball is in front of the player, he's going to kick it, the opposition player comes up alongside him, puts his foot in front of the other person, not his body, just his foot, and apparently that becomes a penalty, right? I don't know what type of game of football anyone's watching, but if that's the rules of football, then I've got to start maybe looking at netball or handball, because there's a lot more fairer decisions than that. Because that was just the most bogus crap I ever seen in my life. But it didn't matter. From the second half, it looked like Southampton was really giving Tottenham a go. They were really at Tottenham. And there's a few times when they could have scored and they didn't, but they were giving it a go. And you can't deny that Tottenham has got the individual technical skills, the ability skills, the X factor for the individual players that are better. But if you're going to have a go at another team, then you're going to have a go as being your squad has to work together. And that's what Southampton did. What they lacked in individual skills, they made up for in a cohesive mass that went forward to attack, right? Whereas Tottenham, it's like a split between you guys are going to run forward at lightning speed and get those few passes together, and you're going to score a goal. And you guys are going to stay in your position in your lane. We've got a world-class forward, Kane, and if you put the ball anywhere near him and he's anywhere near the goal, he's going to 9 times out of 10 he's going to put the ball in the back of the net. That's what we have. We have a proven winner in that. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Fulham didn't have that. Sorry, not Fulham. Southampton didn't have that, but they had Ward-Prowse, which I think is a player that, when Eriksen left, he's the type of player that we should have nabbed to replace Eriksen, years ago. We didn't, and now we're paying the price. But the thing about our team is that, you guys may have heard me for the last 2-3 years. Whenever you guys ask me for a prediction, I say 4-1. And the reason why I say 4-1 is because 4-1 means we're going to win. 3-1, as you can see, we can lose or we can draw. So I kind of looked at the team, and I think one of the panel members earlier said that they still weren't satisfied. They still weren't feeling secure, even though they were 3-1 up. And I think, generally speaking, that's the case with Tottenham, and it has been the case with Tottenham for a very, very long time. The only time I didn't feel that insecure was when Nuno first became the manager for Tottenham. He set up a 4-3-3, and for the first few games, our defense looked absolutely solid. It could weather anything, and I wasn't worried at all. It was when he started tinkering and trying to make our team attacking that's when we started to mess up, and Nuno had to go out. But from the replays, 3-1, not being able to keep the ball in the back of the net, you keep it out. The typical Spurs. I think there's a word for that. Begins with S, ends with Y. I'm not going to say it out loud. But that's my 2 pence. Is we need to be winning 4-1 in order for us to win any particular game without the confidence of the opposition getting itself together. I mean, normally if you're winning 3-1, the other team's demoralized. Yeah, but that wasn't the case with us. So, 3-3, a draw. It's not like we haven't seen this before. Come on, guys. We've all seen this before, right? Yeah. So, I don't think it's the worst match I ever saw. I think there was that one we played against a bunch of farmers in the middle of nowhere in Europe that hurt more. That still hurts. Still hurts.
No. The one with the manager in jail, that one's hurt.
That's the one. They're the farmers.
Oh, okay. One the manager in jail, right? And then we still lost them in the end.
The red stadium that looks like something sprouted up from an arts convention that was wrong. But you know what? This result didn't make me happy. Didn't make me sad. It was just meh. At least we didn't lose the game. Think about it. I mean, we've lost worse. I remember once when Poch was in charge, we had 30 shots against Newcastle. 30 shots, and we still lost the game. We still lost. So this is better than that. I think the only difference is I think Conte may have come out from his rehab right, and he probably still had some sort of medication he was probably taking, and and he hadn't done his Zen morning routine, So I think maybe Conte's always thought this. Yeah, we'll come on to this in a little while.
We'll come back to the Conte thing.
Yeah, later, a good match. I think for a neutral fan, it was a good match because you're seeing a ding dong left and right.
That's true. Big up to Kyle Simpson. Big up. All right. Arthur, your thoughts on the game?
Do you really want to hear me say it?
Yeah. Well, everyone has to say something about it.
First of all, I found it very hard to stay awake in the first half till we scored. Then I woke up. And I now wish I hadn't. Because the second bloody goal went in so early in the first half, it was shock treatment. And I think it was a game of shock and awe in some respects. We were playing like frightened children at times. We withdrew into our shell, certainly in that second half, and allowed Southampton to come on us. And they threw everything at us but the kitchen sink. And I think that was probably going to be the next thing that was going to come flying at us. But I have to say, I was disgusted that we didn't take them on and tear them to ribbons. We had the firepower. As Mr. K has already said, we've got a skillful squad, but they're too comfortable. They're very comfortable in our club. Nobody, I dare say, they don't really get a good kick in the rear like they should do. They're too full of themselves. And I think it's about time we had somebody that brought the iron rod in and sorted them out. You know, they get paid, whatever the score is, they get paid the same money. So they're comfortable. They've been there years, most of them. The new boys, Porro, I thought was superb. And then he got pulled off. But it was a great goal he scored. But I was absolutely bewildered and upset at the end of that game. And I just knew when they scored the second, I said, we're either going to lose this or we'll be lucky if we scrape a draw. And that's how it ended up. No, not a happy season ticket holder, I may add.
Happy season ticket holder. Yep. Arthur, we understand. But Dom, I know you're going to go soon, but you got a question, right? Before I get to rest. Dom, what question you have got to put to us?
I'm going to jump the gun a bit if you guys don't mind, because I got to split in a bit, all right? Antonio Conte, okay, I'm reading the quote, right? They are used here at Tottenham. They don't play for something important. They don't want to play under pressure, under stress. It is easy this way. Okay, so I have 8 hardcore Spurs fans here, right? By any way, right, is he referring to Harry Kane? Because I'm doing some scouting for the new owners, Qatar. Because they're going to buy him. Right?
No, he wasn't. No, the answer is no. The answer is no. He's not talking about Harry Kane. Trust me. He's not.
Oh, Dom. I think that's a. I mean, if you have stayed on longer, right, it would be a very, very interesting question, right? 8 of us will most probably give you a very, very different answer from all of us. But Dom, thanks for the question. But of course, you're not scouting for Harry Kane, right? Unless you're going to pay 125 million pounds, you will get him. No 125 million pounds, forget it. Guys, anybody else want to answer Dom's question?
I'm glad that you
I don't think he's not talking about Harry Kane specifically, but there is an element of that to Harry Kane.
Absolutely.
I will say that.
All right, and of course, everyone, big up to Tommy and Manny. All right, Manny, meet Dom. I'm sure you met more rest of them. Rest. I don't think you met Rest yet. Tommy, I think you met Tommy. Dr. Ramlan, you met him last week.
What can I say? You got a full house going on tonight, sir.
Wonderful. Very much. Yeah.
I usually do have a full house. I haven't had a full house in such a long time, right? But guys, just to let you know, right? Manny's an Arsenal fan, so it is what it is. Okay?
I come in peace.
And he comes in peace. We know that. And Dom, any shows you're doing? You hardly ever do YouTube shows nowadays, right? You're more on TikTok, right?
I focus more on TikTok at the moment. Now.
Yeah. And I see your TikTok shows, sir. There are a lot of people on TikTok, but Malaysians, you get a lot of Malaysian fans on TikTok. But okay, Dom, right. If you have to split, right? All right, take care. Right. Bye-bye. Catch you up later. All right.
Bye, Dom.
Yeah. All right, Dom stepped off. All right, then where's Rez? Okay. Rez is not around. I'll get to Tommy then. Tommy, 3-3, Spurs. What's your opinion, your feelings, or whatever, if you have any?
Can I just say, first of all, what a panel. What an unbelievable panel. I was sitting at the back waiting to come on. I was thinking, I'm just going to stay in the chat here. I want to listen to what these people have to say. I'm just going to stay in the chat, but yeah, you know, I can't really talk and go into anything that hasn't been chatted about over the weekend and here on the panel. But so what I want to talk about, what I want to mention is the actual tactical side of Spurs under Conte, which I think gets overshadowed sometimes. And starting with the defense, we can never ever get the opposition offside, and that's a big problem. The tool for any defense and team is to be able to get the opposition offside, to play the offside trap. It doesn't exist with Spurs. They come onto us time and time again because we play in these ultra deep positions. So 3-1 up against Southampton, you should be comfortable. But we made the wingers look like prime Ajax back in the day, prime Barcelona under Guardiola. Average players, because we continue to sit back. And I don't blame Conte for that. This team, the defense, the lack of communication. You cannot play a line that will get the opposition offside, because there's no understanding, there's no communication, there's no leader in that defense to hold that line. It's all over the place. You can't play the offside trap, and that gives the opportunity for other teams to come onto you. So that's, you know, specifically the tactical side. And it's been like that since Conte's been there. I don't question Conte for that. You've got to, you know, he's been given a banana to build a house. He hasn't been given the tools. You know, he hasn't been given the tools. And somehow, I know Ian touched on it earlier, I don't know how he's fourth. I don't know how we got fourth last season. I don't know how we're fourth now. What I do know is we finished 6th and 7th before Conte shows up, playing this horrible football. Nobody can say they want to watch this football. Nobody. I can support Conte and say, Conte in. I don't want to watch this football. But there's no other way, no other manager, very few, that would get us fourth last season and fourth this season. So it's horses for courses. You know, he has to play this way, and we're fourth because he's an elite manager. It's as simple as that.
Correct.
It's 2 seasons on the bounce. He's fourth because he is an elite manager. That's it.
Yeah. All right. Okay, Rez, your thoughts on the Southampton game?
The thoughts on the Southampton game. This is nothing we haven't seen before. This is nothing we haven't seen over the last 23 years. Yeah? Show me how it's different. Someone demonstrate to me how it's different from the last 23 years. Oh, I know how it's different. We're playing in a new stadium. Woo!
Rez, it goes back further than that. There's colleagues, I don't know if you've seen them on Twitter, but even Alan Sugar is saying, you know, it was the same when I was there. You know, players would come, you know, moan to me, we need more players. And well, you know, what do you want? Are you saying you're not good enough? Do you want me to replace you? So I think there's
the day I give any credence to anything that Alan Sugar has to say about Tottenham Hotspur is the day that I chop my own bollocks off.
I'm probably not disagreeing with that, but the reality is there's been a mental weakness at the club that goes back. It's not just down to leaving; it goes back years.
No, Ian. No, it's not a mental weakness. It's not mental weakness, or it's a mental weakness as an outcome of a culture that exists. That's the problem. Right. The problem is there's a culture at the club, and that culture spreads from the top. Nowhere else. There's no other thing. We've changed players, we've changed managers, we've changed training grounds, we've changed stadia, we've had fans die and born and grow up supporting Spurs. The only thing that hasn't changed is Daniel Levy and Donna Cullen.
Is Elias frozen, or is that his avatar?
Who's that?
Elias at the top. Is he frozen?
No, I'm not frozen. I'm not frozen. Is my.
Yeah.
He's
having dinner.
Okay.
He's having dinner now. And of course, before we go on to the next level, right? Mani, who did you beat on the weekend?
We beat a Crystal Palace team. We beat a Crystal Palace team which had the gall to sack our legendary former captain Patrick Vieira, because apparently they still weren't confident in him, despite the fact that the performances were certainly nowhere near as dire as people would expect. The dire is, of course, a happy accident, not any reference to your number 15. And I did actually see a bit of the Southampton Tottenham game, and certainly, you know, you lot looked really good value for your lead. The only problem is it just goes to show that when you come up against a team that's fighting relegation, you seriously cannot afford to become too defensive. And if there's one takeaway that we can have from this particular season, it's that whenever teams have tried to become a little bit too defensive, more often than not, they've pretty much suffered consequences, whether it's losing points or losing games, even worse. And we've been the beneficiary more often than not from teams adopting that sort of defensive behavior. Just goes to show that you really cannot allow yourself to become tentative. I think it's just typical, really, of Conte in a way, because one of the biggest frustrations I have is that with all of the attacking talent he has, he does have a tendency to become far too defensive for anyone's liking, whether it's a neutral or a diehard fan. And it's just, it can be, it's a little bit irritating to watch, it must be said. And I will also say right now, I think Phil McNulty summed it up perfectly on the BBC when he said, it's one thing for Conte to, say what he said, but what he's done is he's thrown his players effectively under the bus, not that it's not justified, but he also has to accept his share of blame for what's going on at the moment. And if he can't, then that just
Can I just jump in here? Can I just jump in here, please?
Yeah.
Why?
By all means.
Why does he have to accept his share of the blame? Why is he to blame?
He took the money, should have expected all this shit from Levy and the club and the fans, and now he's just moaning about it. That's why.
Exactly. That's the thing. He took a job, right? Yeah. This is the thing. This is the mud that is constantly being thrown into the water. Yeah. Oh, this player should have done that. That manager should have done that. The coaching staff, this, that. They were ill. Injury at the beginning. This, that, and the other. Never, or very rarely, only now is it starting a little bit in the media, especially, for the focus to actually be on where the problem has been for the last 20 odd years. And that is right at the top. Yeah. That office right at the top of that building, the HQ next to the stadium. Yeah. The bald dwarf and his witch. Yeah. Daniel Levy and Don Cullen. Don't blame Conte. Don't even blame the players. The players is just an outcome. For them, the reason that they are like that is because there's nothing at stake for them. And that is also because of a culture that has been instilled by Daniel Levy. Daniel Levy, the way that he wants to stop big clubs from poaching his players, what he does is that he keeps giving these players little, very small, but regular increments to their contracts. Yeah. How often do we hear this person's contract was extended, that person's contract was extended, contract extension? We've got bloody Eric Dyer being spoken about having a bloody contract extension. Eric sodding Dyer? Are you joking?
We gave Ben Davis a 3-year contract at the start of the season.
Exactly.
Yeah. Chris got an extension on his contract.
What he does is that in order to maintain the value of these investments, because that's how he sees them, and to stop big clubs from being able to come in and take them on the cheap, this is what happened with Ericsson. This is how Ericsson escaped. He just refused the increments. Yeah. But what they do regularly, have a couple of thousand extra and just, another year on your contract. And that sets up a culture in which the players know that the rations are going to turn up. They don't care about winning anything because their pay is secure. They know that win, lose, draw, go out of a cup, get to a final, their increments are going to turn up. They're not being shown that if they actually act well, work well, fight for something, they'll get rewarded. They'll get rewarded anyway. Yeah. That's why we don't release players from contracts very much. Yeah. That's why Aurier's contract being cancelled was such a surprising thing for Spurs. Wow. We actually agreed to terminate the contract of a player. We've never done that, not for years. Whereas other clubs do all the time. Yeah. This is the culture that's been instilled. And Conte is bang on the money. Because Levy is far too interventionist, the chairman. He shouldn't be at the training ground ever. He should be in his office, which is outside the stadium. That's where his office is. He shouldn't be interfering in player transfers except to sign the checks. He's got a managing director of football. The reason that we are like this stems from the top. When you are run by an accountant who interferes in everything that he does, no offense to accountants, Arthur, but when you're run by someone who for whom accounting is the only key aspect of life, you know, this is the culture that will stem and flow into your entire organization. This is a well-known phenomenon, okay? The person at the top sets the tone for the organization. It is not set by the manager, it's not set by the players or the fans, it is set by the chairman. The chairman doesn't care about football, or if he does, it is only one of his concerns, and certainly not the main one. Yeah, that is why Spurs are like this. That is where the Spursy tag comes from. It's not Spursy, it's Enicky. Yeah,
exactly. You brought up some really good.
Can I just
but hold on, guys. Before actually we're supposed to Res went on his rant, right? I was supposed to go on a mild rant, right? Because I've been doing a lot of rants and other people.
Did I out-rant you, Newton? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, I don't do big rants on my own show, right? I only do big rants on other people's shows, you see. So I'm mild here, right? Okay.
I do a rant on my show every week. It's fun. Should do it.
I know. Okay. For this is what I call the Conte bomb, right? He released his press conference. The message came out, right? Interpreting it the way they want to, like what Mr. K is saying, the words and how things have been put on. Did he call out the board? Did he threw the players under the bus? He threw himself under the bus, right? But what I've been saying for the past few shows, this last 2 days, has been very simple. November last season, right? When Nuno was in charge, right? We lost to Manchester United, right? The chants came out. We want Levy out. We want Levy out in the stadium. Levy had a knee-jerk reaction, brought in Conte. Majority of the fan base, it doesn't matter whether you were Levy in, Levy out, Levy on the fence, right? We were saying this, right? This is the last straw that Levy has to show, right? You're bringing in another win now manager, right? To give us the trophy, to give us the glory. If not, why bring in Conte, right? So this is what happened. Conte was brought in, right? The fans all were appeased. Everything quieted down again, right? Now we are moving on 14 months later, right? Or 13 months later, right? Because when Conte came in, I myself already been saying I was waiting for him to walk, because I myself believe Levy will never give Conte the players that he wanted to actually give him what he wants to bring us to the next level. Because Conte comes here, right? Because as you watch his rant, what he did in his interview yesterday, he is not here to be fourth, right? He's here to challenge for titles, right? Premier title, Champions League title, right? Titles. And when he said that we have not won anything in 20 years, right? It clicked in my mind. Maybe even the League Cup is not in his mind as a title that he wants to win, right? So my sad part is, right, down the line when Conte was in charge, this year, in January, the seed of Conte out was planted. And now, this seed of Conte out has grown into a tree, and it's going to bloom the fruit very soon, because after the Burnley game, remember, Conte went on this weird rant, right? Am I the one? Am I the problem? Right? Why are the players like this? Blah blah blah. Right? In this conference, what did he say? Right? I've been hiding. Right? That's why I said after the Burnley conference, Conte changed, and I said that he was gagged. He wasn't allowed to express his true feelings anymore, and most probably maybe he was gagged in a way. Right? It cost him mental stress. Right? Three of his closest friends passed away, and he lost his gallbladder along the way. Right? His gallbladder. Right? But now, when he comes up and what he has said, right? We all know this problem for so long. Us fans who do these shows all the while, we see it. It's not the managers, right? It's the players, right? And today, of course, he did come out the press has come up with another twist, right? That Conte has actually spoken to the board. He wasn't actually going at the owners, right? But he was actually going at the players. But now the biggest question is, after this Conte bomb, right? We are in the international break. During the international break, right? Many things can happen. Okay. Conte might not even be here after that, but we are hearing now, right? There are crisis talks going on between Conte and Levy and the board, right? Let's see what happens within the next 3-4 days. Okay, guys. But after I finish, every one of you will have your chance to talk, right? Now is the time we are waiting. I've been waiting for this day for a very, very long time, because I expected after the Burnley game, right? And if we turn up like this again, there will be another problem. What I said in a lot of other shows is, last year, the first season when Conte took over November, last January, Brian Daigle, Ryan Isaac, Graham, 3 people, 4 people were standing outside Hotspur away protesting. Guys, remember? In the freezing cold, right? And what did Paratici do? What did Levy do? For 31 days, no signings until the last minute. He brought in Decky and Bentancur. And we were lucky Decky and Bentancur assimilated into the team and produced the results that Conte wanted and got us top 4. Conte even said it was a miracle for us getting top 4 last season. And of course, sorry to say money, right? You guys blew it.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, you guys blew it. So it's our lucky chance. But now we are seeing this all over again. And like all the Spurs fans around here are saying, right? How are we in the top 4 position now? Right? It's all because of Conte. But now, because of the fans divide, right? There are Levy outers who are Conte outers. There are Levy outers who are Conte inners. There's even a divide in the Levy outers, which is the weirdest thing that I've ever seen, why we are not united in one stance. If we want the owners out, we should be united. But it is what it is, right? And of course, we are just a minority in the end of the day, right? So this is what I've got to say. No cussing, no bad words thrown out there. Just trying to be as polite as possible. But Elias is not here. Elias, hold on. Yes, who's the last question? Yes,
I just wanted to ask a question to the panel while we're on the Conte bomb subject. What, it's 2 days ago now. Why do we feel Levy hasn't got rid of Conte already? Why is he reluctant?
No, because he's still top 4.
Because he knows that it will blow up in his face. Yeah. You can. We had Jose Mourinho as our manager. Jose Mourinho, as a manager, had lifted more titles. I believe that I'm correct in this. Had lifted more titles in his career alone than Spurs have in their entire history.
Yes. Okay?
Yep.
If you can look at that man and say he is not a manager that you will want to hold on to tooth and nail, right? And feel that it is appropriate to get rid of that manager 6 days before a cup final, it demonstrates exactly how attuned you are to what football is about. Levy has never been attuned to what football is about. People have said it. He doesn't know anything about it. He knows nothing about football, right? But he's canny enough to know that if he sacks Conte now, today, it's problematic. But it's the international break. He's got 2 weeks for the likes of Mark Knobhead Barlow, or whatever his name is, in the Daily Mail, to turn around and say Conte is making excuses for his next employer. To what purpose, Mark? He doesn't need an interview. Anyone would love to have Conte in their club. He doesn't need to make excuses for his next employer. Why don't you go and read a bit of Darren Fletcher, who actually put it right today in the Daily Mirror?
His CV will have grown. His CV will have grown at Spurs.
Exactly. And so but Levy is going to let a couple of the Gary Neville shill tweets to come out. I don't know if you saw Gary Neville today with his ridiculous tweet as well. He's just going to let a few of those, drop those seeds in, let them fester, get a couple of Spurs fans to stop thinking with their brains and actually engage their sort of hind brains and say, oh yeah, we should get rid of Conte now because the football's shit. Then he'll sack him. Or just wait until the end of the season, because there is nothing left for Levy to gain. There's no further cup competition, so there's no money to be made there. The league will go on and he'll get whatever payments he gets, whatever. Next season, he'll just go again. Yeah?
Fair. All right. I think I'll go to Dr. Ramlan first, right? Because Dr. Ramlan is running for time, right? Doc, I mean, for this Conte bomb, right? How do you actually feel about it, right?
Well, first and foremost, I'm fully aware of the issues at board level with Levy and all that. This is another thing that's we all know for many years, right? Ever since they've come on board, Inic and Levy, they have always been like that. But my perspective is always from the team perspective, right? What the role of the coach is to prepare the team physically, physiologically, mentally to win. That's first and foremost. That's the first order of business. Anything beyond that is to me is politics and something that needs to be managed in due course, or as it is, we shall see how that pans out in the coming months. But if I were the coach, it is very important for me to prepare my players because that's the core business.
The problem there.
There's one thing I want to ask, right? Yeah, is that if you're a professional and you value something called integrity, would it make sense for a human being that eventually it'll get to a point where their integrity cannot be knocked any further and they have to come out and say, you know what, I've been keeping quiet about an awful lot of things and now I can't take it anymore? Maybe the accident, maybe the drugs, maybe the deaths in the family, maybe a whole bunch of stuff is actually conspired to the point where, as a coach, you don't really want to throw people under the bus, but you're going to do it.
Hold on. Doc, you're muted.
Oh, buddy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just like
okay. Look. I understand all this because I'm seeing the same thing, all right? But you have to understand my perspective, okay? I've been a team doctor. I've sat on the bench. I'm not worried about the manager, whether he's got shit running, in his face or anything like that. I'm not worried about anything. I look at the coach and he's always concerned with the team first, the team performance, first and foremost. Because there can be shitstorm running all over the place, but you have to concentrate on the team and its performance at that point. Because at the end of the day, whatever happens, any bad outcome in any match, being 3-1 up, 15 minutes to go, and then of course, dodgy penalties notwithstanding, the issue is still that you have to get the players together. We are fighting on too many fronts, all right? Already we have a battle on the board front with the chairman like that, with the culture like that, as you mentioned just now. So when you are beleaguered like that, you cannot afford to have another front to battle, right? With the team losing the dressing room and all that. So I think this is a moment you have to recognize it as a team crisis. The coach Conte, we've got the right coach. I think we can all agree. It's just that we are going through a bad time. So there must be some crisis talks between the coach and.
No, you're muted again.
Right, guys, can I ask one little question here, right? Yeah, what's the difference between getting a 3-3 draw with the Southampton game at this time of the season, and say, for example, getting a 3-3 draw with Southampton, say, for example, in November or October of last year? What's the difference between the two? Why would you get upset now and compared to before? Well, what's the significant difference when you've only got 10 games left that losing out on 2 extra points will upset or hurt your team?
Yep.
Nothing. The reason that Conte, the reason that he's upset is because he's had enough.
Yeah, big up to all the guys coming over from the coffee rate.
If you lose out on 2 points, at this point of the season, right, yeah, when you're neck deep, right, yeah, in this race for the top 4, then literally you don't have any second chances. You're running out of juice. Yeah. Losing 2 points out when other teams have got games in hand. This is right now you're making it incredibly difficult to finish top 4. That's the difference.
Can I add one other thing to that? Can I just very quickly add something to that? the issue here again. It's this thing about people sort of saying, "Oh, Conte shouldn't have done this or that." Or the other. I will ask this. Let me ask this question: do anyone here believe that Conte hasn't repeatedly said to his players, I want you to do this, I want you to do this, I want you to do this, and they haven't done it? And do you think it's possible that maybe this is him getting to the point of, I've told them 1,000,000 times, now I'm sick of it and I'm going to lose my temper?
Yes.
High possibility. Yeah, high possibility, right? Because, of course, Conte is like what Doc says, right? Maybe he has been focusing on the team. That's why he says...
Look, excuse me. The thing is, whatever he has to say to the team, he has to tell them man to man, and then as a team. You don't say whatever grouses you have with your players. You do not tell it to the whole world. It's between
How many managers have done just that loads and loads of times? Managers do it all the time.
I don't know. I don't know how many managers, but all I know is that a coach has to confront his team behind closed doors, get it together. That's all.
A little while ago, I heard the same thing. It was about Pochettino, I think it was, calling out his players. And I went back and I did a little quick check. Within 15 minutes, I'd found 20 examples of various managers doing exactly what Conte did yesterday on Saturday, including the likes of Alex Ferguson, Arsene Wenger, Jose Mourinho. It's happened all the time. It is not something special. We just want, there are some elements in the fan base and
it works. It works. Special. Conte's always done it. Every club he's done it. Conte's done it.
Yeah, Mikel Arteta has done that.
He's won league titles, FA Cups, league titles. Every club he's done it at. So, Rez, I don't know about Poch too much. He wasn't someone to me that would call his players out as such.
No,
but
he did
should. Maybe you should, because he didn't win anything for 5.5 years.
Exactly.
Guys, just 2 pence on this, right? Yeah, just 2 pence on this, because unfortunately I've got one of those type of memories like an elephant, right? Yeah, but not exactly Daigle style, but I've got my own type of memories, and that is what I've noticed is that managers will every now and again get really ticked off with their players when they kind of when they feel that the players have let the fans down and let the team down and let the badge down, and managers have done that throughout the history of the Premier League and what's before it. But one thing I have noticed in this club is that any time the manager ever goes overboard and criticizes the board, then normally within about a very short space of time, he's sacked. Pochettino was the classic example. He finally got fed up and he finally said something against the board and bang, he was sacked. And every manager since then, pretty much the same thing, including Jose. The only difference, I think, was probably someone like Nuno or Terry or Mason, but they weren't really like full-time managers as such. But that's what I've noticed.
Mr. K, what he actually did was he went to Levy and he said this club needs a rebuild. Within weeks he was sacked.
Yeah, but the thing is, at the moment now, right? Of course, now after what Conte has said, what do we feel, right, will be the next outcome that's going to happen? Are we going to actually see Conte getting sacked, or are we going to see Conte going to be prolonged until the end of the season to just let him go end of his contract, right? And do we see, because what I feel now, right? Like what Doctor is saying is very true. If he's lost the dressing room now, right, the players are not going to go out and play for him, correct? And if from after the international break we go on a losing run, right? Conte is surely going to be sacked because he's going to fall out of the top four, which is not the owner's objective. Where at the moment he's still maintaining that position. That's why more or less he's been given the chance of being not sacked yet, right? But now what he has done, maybe within the next 24 hours we will find out the answer, because there is already news out there. There's already crisis talk between Conte and the board and Levy to see what's happening, because Conte did say that I didn't throw you guys under the bus. I'm talking about the players, right? But of course, when you talk about the players like that, and all this while, I've been saying, since Conte has been in charge, right, he has not thrown anybody under the bus. He has been keeping it to himself all this while. Maybe that's why what Rez says, that it's not that he's not been trying to pull the team together, right? He's been telling them, trying to coach them, trying to coach them until that his breaking point has come yesterday. Because seeing us having a 2-goal lead and losing that 2-goal lead, right, at that period of point, maybe broke him. You get what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. Maybe that like I said, maybe to a certain extent, what Mr. K is saying, maybe he had the wrong pills in him, the pain medication got hold of him, right? During the press conference, he let it all out. He couldn't take it anymore. He let it all out, right? Because the frustration building up all these months, right? Because he is just basically frustrated at the players that he has. That's all I'm trying to say. Just being basically frustrated.
Eugene, there's a narrative that's quite strong in the British culture, right? Yeah, we saw it recently with Lineker, right? Yeah, and that is what happens, right? Yeah, is people don't talk about the issue at hand. What they do is they talk about the person, whether they should or shouldn't.
That's right.
Instead of talking about the issue, which is like, how comes this type of crap has happened for 20 years, repeat play. Rather than looking at that issue, it becomes an issue of, oh, he threw the players underneath the bus, or he said this, or he said that. It becomes more of an issue of whether someone should say something or not, instead of what the heck is the issue. He's an expert. You call him in, he analyzes, and he tells you players are playing like shit. That's his job. But instead, what we're going to do is we're going to say, oh, no, he's not allowed to do that. It's very uncomfortable, psychologically to be put down like that. Well, I'm sorry. Psychologically, how do you think the manager feels when you're being let down? Psychologically, how do you think the fans are being let down constantly season after season? There's eventually, every human being is going to break. And if you look back, you'll see every time a manager breaks, they start giving that statement sideways. I think Jose did probably the most clever sideways ones of all. But anyway, that's just me. I think we should have a top 10 of sideways comments from managers.
Psychologically, what the hell do the players think they're doing to us poor bloody fans?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster.
It doesn't matter. We're going to buy the ticket anyway.
But before we continue, right? There are 24 of you guys in the chat.
People saying that Conte has thrown these players under the bus are afraid of saying that these players deserve to be under that bus.
Yes.
Bang on head.
Yeah. That's
so
where
guys, hold on. The 20 of you guys in the chat, right? If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, Persuasion TV. If you're not clicked on the like, right? Please click on the like, right? Thanks for your support. Thanks for being here, right? Please give the love to the great panel that I have here today, right? We're talking about the Spurs, the Conte bomb, right? But okay, before we continue on this, Mani, as an Arsenal fan, right? What are your thoughts on Conte's comments, right, that he did in the press conference on Saturday? Are you aware of it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was mentioning that BBC article by Phil McNulty. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't really have that much time for him as a journalist or as a human being anyway, but still, if I could just pull that article up, I'm just going to try and go over some of the salient points he made. And listen, I'll tell you one thing. You take a look at the problems that Conte has been through and how he obviously felt as though he was a little bit betrayed by the players. Well, I think in many ways, somebody mentioned that Jose Mourinho had some of the more clever side sort of snide remarks about his players. But I'll tell you one thing: when he was managing Real Madrid, he literally, wasn't hesitant to, be completely open about everything, and he would openly, berate a lot of people. And I think people had also gotten wise to him by then, knowing that he's, knowing that he was just angry. And I don't really rate Mourinho as a manager. I'm glad he didn't join Arsenal, and especially after the way things imploded at Real Madrid, I would say that was mainly his doing as well, in as much as we all know the politicking going on over there. And of course, speaking of politicking, of course, there is the issue of what his time at Spurs, and I have to say, as an Arsenal fan, it's a little bit a point of envy for me how you're able to get a manager like Conte and managers of that caliber to come and manage your club, when we literally would have been crying out for someone like him or them to come and manage us. But yeah, like obviously there are some. I'm trying to look for that particular article. But
why did you just say him or them?
It wasn't easy.
Manny,
it wasn't easy.
Why did you say him or them? Is that Conte's pronouns? Has he got a pronoun now? Honestly, Is it him or them?
What are you talking about? Oh yeah, I found the article. I found it. Conte blames Tottenham players, but is part of the club's problems. He delivered a scathing assessment of his own players and the culture inside the club, warning that even if he's sacked, unless it changes, the years without success will continue the Spurs. And obviously, you know, this is continuing the trend of how it's becoming more of a loveless marriage between the club and the manager, branding his players selfish, and even talking about the Spurs owners. For purpose, obviously, McNulty was trying to set the record straight, saying that the League Cup was, in fact, won. Okay, basically what McNulty is saying is that Conte dropped responsibility for Spurs' indifferent season at the feet of his players, but he must also accept his share, and there's a growing feeling that he is acting like he's doing Spurs a favour by managing them. And,
he is.
Although Conte may be right in what he said about the players, how he was talking about how they were selfish, he was saying it's also his job to address the situation, and he can't escape his portion of the blame for performances as insipid as the goalless draw, which saw Spurs crash out of the Champions League at home to AC Milan, or even the concession of a comfortable position at St. Mary's. And, you know, again, this also comes back to the issue that managers also are the ones responsible for the tactics, and it's the players who try and implement them. But again, we've seen time and time again in the Premiership that if you are too defensive when you have a lead, and Spurs are not the only team to blow a 3-1 lead. We've seen teams in the relegation dogfight blow it. Even teams at the top of the table have had it happen to them. And, you know, it's as if Conte is the type of manager who, like Arsene Wenger, is just unwilling to, you know, evolve as a manager. What made Alex Ferguson such a great manager was that he was also willing to. Please hear me out, okay? I'm used to getting heckled.
Bro, I know which channels we have been watching.
Yeah, I'm used to getting heckled, but I also would like to just say what I would like to say. And managers also do have a responsibility to try to change and evolve their tactics, which is what Sir Alex Ferguson was able to do. When we had the last 10 years of Arsene Wenger, when, you know, we eventually became a laughingstock and started finishing well below you when Poch was your manager, I was one of the fans who was saying, you know what, this is what we deserve for all the times that we were cheering for St. Totteringham's Day and celebrating wildly reaching the Champions League at your expense. And, you know, the players have been to blame, the manager has been to blame, but the fans have also been to blame for accepting that rubbish. But Arsene also had to go because he wasn't willing to evolve or change his tactics or really improve his own, you know, approach to the game. It was always his way, and every time we kept having the same sort of results. So I realized that, you know, Conte did have success back in Italy, and obviously, you know, a manager of his CV is gold dust. But then there comes a time when, as a manager, also you've got to accept your share of the blame for not being able to adapt to the needs of the game in question. And it's basically because we can all accept the football in the Premiership and football in Serie A are literally chalk and cheese. And
okay,
so we're seeing right now. We're seeing right now.
Listen.
We're seeing right now.
Listen, guys.
Could you please let me just give me 10 seconds. Give me 10 seconds.
Guys, the same point 10 times and not.
Let me have 10 seconds. Rez, that's your name. Rez. Let me have 10 seconds, and you are welcome to come back in.
Thank you.
So we've seen. So, you know, it's often said that insanity is defined by doing the same thing again and again and again and expecting a different result every time. And the best managers have to be on the pulse of what's going on in the league. People now know, especially playing against us, that if you try to be too defensive and employ time-wasting tactics, that's going to be your downfall because late goals have been scored. No. I've seen Conte manage most of these times. With the talent he had in that squad, there was no excuse not to try and attack AC Milan when you had the chance. And so if he wanted to, he could have.
But that's just one
evolved.
game. That's just one game.
It's not just one game. We've seen him managing long enough to know.
Hold on, guys. Mani, my question to you was actually, right, what do you think about the Conte comment, right? Of it doesn't matter what tactics, what has happened, what he's been played, whether it's shit, whether it's attacking, whether it's beautiful football, it doesn't matter anymore because we've already reached that juncture, right? Where it's whether, as you and an Arsenal fan, right? Do you see, is it Conte's fault? Is it the players' fault? Is it the owner's fault? Who should hold this? I mean, this bomb. There's a bomb right now being thrown around, right? It's like a grenade. There's time on it. Conte has thrown the grenade out there. Now he's giving it to Levy, and let's see what Levy's going to do with it, right? And maybe Levy will come up with an answer. And because you must understand, us being Spurs fans, right? We never get communication from our owners at all, right? What Conte came out and said yesterday, we should have actually gotten an answer or a statement from the club, right? To say something like, okay, we know that our manager is not happy, but we are trying to solve this problem with him now. But we never do that. We keep silent until everything crumbles. And when the bomb explodes, then everybody will see what's happening. But we'll never let you know.
There's a more important thing here, though. This is the thing. This is journalist narratives being swallowed whole by people and not applying a little bit of critical thinking. Now, unless I've missed something in the last 20 odd years of watching football, but it's not particle physics. It's not something that the newest technological change alters the landscape. Brian Clough said it 50 odd years ago. Football is a very simple game. It always has been. It always will be. And the most important determinant factor, really, when you look at it, is how much the players want it. That's why you get the likes of Wigan winning the FA Cup. That's why you get the likes of, again, Wigan knocking Man City out of a cup. The likes of Colchester, I think it was, knocking us out of the League Cup a couple of seasons ago under Pochettino, because desire is important. Desire is not a function of tactics. Desire is not a function of managerial knowledge. And on top of everything else, I'll tell you this about Conte. Conte is one of the most up-to-speed managers that you'll find in the world. He is constantly going to learn things. What's his name? Marco Bielsa, who the likes of Pep Guardiola cite as an important influence. Yeah, he holds regular workshops. Conte goes to them and studies. He is a football fanatic. Yeah, he watches, he learns, he evolves. This idea that tactics become out of date is rubbish. I've seen 4-4-2 teams beat Premier League sides. So what? That tactic worked on that occasion? Yeah, this is a narrative that journalists like to justify their expense accounts. Oh, what can we talk about that we haven't talked about 400 billion times already? I know. Let's talk about the evolution of tactics. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's rubbish.
Okay, yeah? I will concede that. I will concede that. But I'm going to go back to Eugene's question and like basically what he was asking was, whose fault is it? Is it the board? Is it the manager? Is it the players? It's everyone who's involved. The players, obviously, like many of them at least, have, not really lived up to their reputation. I talk about how lucky you were to have signed the likes of Ivan Perisic, and I get shouted down by saying, no, he's been one of our biggest disappointments, especially ever since coming back from the World Cup.
Exactly.
And most of the players that you bought in the summer window, which made me green with envy, because we never had a transfer window like that, many of them have not even been used. Jed Spence has been sent on loan. And so... There's so much going on with the board, and I've now started to realise that everything that was going on in the transfer window, with everything, there was more to that than met my eye. But there is obviously blame that has to be shared by everyone involved. I think Conte also might need to take some of the blame. Brian Clough might have said it, but let's put it into perspective, Rez. It was 50 years ago. 50 years ago. 50 years ago, people talk about... 50 years ago, there was no...
50 years ago, 50 years ago, nothing changed in that respect. Bottom teams or lower teams, right? Yeah, have every now and again upset the top order teams because of their sheer tenacity of working together and going for that last inch and pushing themselves to the max.
They fight for survival.
More expensive millionaire Premier League players. Now that's a statement of humanity. It's like a human being, the psychology of it. That hasn't changed in 50 years. Sorry, Manny. I get your point. You're right. But I think right now, there's plenty of people here, right, yeah, that would like to put 2 pence in, right, yeah, in regards to saying that Conte is telling us something that we've already known. It's brave of him to do so. And there's other people going to say, well, in a position that he's in, he shouldn't be allowed to say that. And rather than talking about the actual message, we're once again and again and again, we're going to talk about the manager. Well, sod the manager, because every manager before him has said the same thing. So let's ignore the personality of the manager. Let's ignore the responsibility of the manager, because at the end of the day, the truth is out. This expert, this world-renowned coach, has turned around and said, listen, why is nobody asking the question? You guys have had over 20 years. You want zip all. Come on, think. Why? He asked why. He didn't give the answer why. So now it's up to us to ask the question why, rather than turning around and saying, let's distract from the question. Let's now talk about personality. Let's talk about the individual. If we are going to talk about Conte, let's have a look at Conte's record. He went into a team, right, yeah, where he made himself successful as a 4-2-4 tactical manager. Then as soon as he got to a better team, he changed the 4-2-4 to a 4-3-4. Right? I'm sorry, 4-3-4-3. My point is, he changed and adapted his technique and the tactics of the team every time he went. When he came to Tottenham, he said, listen, the reason why I can't stick 4 at the back is because we don't have 2 centre-backs that can play the system. So I have to play, 3 at the back and then bring the wing-backs in to make it 5. Right? He specifically stated that. When Nuno became our manager, he played 4-3-3. And we looked solid for the first 3 games. Then all of a sudden, it's like, you're playing boring game. We want more attacking. Right, fine. Let's change the tactics. Then we start getting thumped. And then all of a sudden, he has to get sacked. Right? So the reality is that every time it gets shown that the board recruitment policy is not up to scratch, as soon as it becomes apparent, the manager gets changed. And we've seen it time and time again. And instead of talking about that one particular aspect, which is basically who's in charge of that? Who's in charge of this Spursy tag? Who's in charge of the policy when it comes to players coming in? As soon as we get to the nearer to the truth, all of a sudden in the media, amongst the fan base, we're now going to get confusion everywhere. We're going to start getting talking points and sound bites. Yeah, I get that. Everyone has a valid point to what they're saying. You're absolutely right. But if we come back and strip away everything, we come to the horrible truth, and that is the board has been swindling our fan base every single season. And while they're increasing their property FC, we're getting nowhere as a fan base. Correct. We've got no glory whatsoever. We should just be bloody grateful that we can get a beer that's served in less than 2 seconds. There you go. Formula One or motorsport is coming to the stadium. That's going to take the board and the people that own it, ENIC, that's going to take them from 3.5 billion, 4.5 billion to about 10 billion valuation by the time they're finished. That's the harsh reality and truth. And guess what we're going to talk about? Whether or not Conte has done a good thing or a bad thing. No. That is. You know what? There's a reason why I've been out for about a year and a half.
If I guys, hold on. Hold on, Mani. Because Dr. Ramlan has to make. He's got one more point to put before he takes his leave, right? Because tomorrow he's got an early morning start. Don't forget, he's in Malaysia, right, with me, right? It's going to be 12 a.m. soon. Okay, Doc, have your point, sir.
Very kind. Thank you. The thing is I look at it. There's the short-term channel, there's the long-term channel, right? What we've been discussing so far is more of a mid to long-term channel. But in the short term, let's keep. It's like a family, you see. When you have a bunch of players and the coach, keep it tight between players and coach. That is the key to all of this. When you win the next match, everything will blow away. All right. This is something that you have to arrest, because at the end of the day, you cannot be listening to the press, to all the noise around you about the coach should leave, the coach should stay, and all that. The first bridge has to be repaired between the players and the coach. If ever anybody perceives that the players have been thrown under the bus, okay, deservedly or not. So I feel that you have to treat it as a crisis. You have to, strengthen within the team itself. Then, of course, the other battles that you fight on the fronts, I totally accept, because I've been there as well, along with all of you. So thank you very much. It's been wonderful chatting with you. I'll see you next time. Okay, everybody.
Next time, Doctor. Have a nice sleep. Thank you for coming.
All right, thank you, Doc.
Good night, sir.
All right. And Dr. Ramlan, right? Just to give you some, just to give the guys a bit of who doesn't know who Dr. Ramlan is. Actually, Dr. Ramlan, I think you know how to explain it better, Alias, Dr. Ramlan's CV and all that.
He has been part of actually a Malaysian National Sports Council. He's a sports medicine doctor. Like he has coached like some of the, not coached. He has been basically involved with some of the top teams as well. Like he was in the World Hockey League, and he also coached. I don't know if any of you know Lee Chong Wei. He's like the former world number one. He used to be his doctor as well. Like
So he's actually been in the actual sports. He's a sports doctor, right? So he's been actually in the sports at the very high level at one period of time. A very, very well respected Spurs fan.
I think that's the point, though, isn't it? That we turn around and we send around to say, listen, this guy is an expert in his field. He's been involved in some top places, right? Yeah, and that when he gives his 2 pence, right? Yeah, we should really listen to it. Well, so is Conte, so is Jose.
Yeah,
you know, these are world-class coaches, and we laughed at Jose when he left. Listen, the fan base laughed and they said, "Ha, he's a has-been." And the reason why he joined Tottenham is because he was a has-been trying to get himself a check. Well, guess what? He goes and wins a trophy at the next club he goes to.
Yeah. But guys, since Dr. Ramlan is not here, we can go all out and go crazy.
No, I wanted to bring up one point that Mani, you brought up since the beginning, that the Conte football is a defensive football, and this is another narrative that's going on in our fan base as well. Oh, it's such a boring football. Like you sit back, so you sit deep, and all that nonsense. That's another narrative that's just pushed on media. It's an agenda. It has no backing of the facts. If you look at the Premier League table right now, we have scored third most goals after Manchester United and Arsenal. If you have scored that many goals, it doesn't mean that you are a team sitting deep back. It's just some salty fans who have a problem. Basically, they just want to see the attractive attacking football, and you ask them like, what is attacking creative football? They have no answer to that one. Like really, Spurs fans really. You ask them like, what is attacking creative football? The football that wins us things and all that. So which means like what Arsenal is playing, what Napoli is playing, or what maybe teams like PSG, Man City they play. Basically, is that sort of football. But that sort of football is also not what they describe you best. In order to win a game, you need to have an element of defense. You need to have an element of control. You need to have an element of attack in it. Right now, we are good at attacking at the moment. I think we are not lacking in that area, but we lack control in our midfield. We lack defense in our back line. That's the real problem that has been there. And I don't know, I mean, how many of these fans, they actually study the game, like you analyze the tactics and you watch games again and again. Some of them, they are just lazy fans, really. Like, they are just lazy. You ask them, like, why do you think that is defensive football? Most of the time, actually, our teams spend their time in opponent's half. They are just playing the ball here and there. Rotating, and they just fail to score goals at times when we lose the games because the other team is sitting way deep, and we lack creativity in those positions. Most of those games where we have lost, those are the games where other teams have been playing so deep, not us. We don't play deep in the games where we lose. The other teams play deep in their line, and then we actually cannot create because we lack creativity, and our defense cannot support the midfield to support that sort of an attack. So it's not that we lack we lack attack, or we lack control in our game.
No, but the point is now, actually, right, it doesn't matter what happens in the game, but of course, like, whatever happens, right, this result that came out, what Conte said in the press conference has actually done a lot of people see as damage, but of course for us, like, we see it's done a lot of good, because it's opened up a whole new can of worms, right? Yeah, go ahead, Rez.
I just want to address. There's someone in the comments called Dan E who seemed bent on wanting to make sure that Conte is the one to blame. Under Mourinho, he said that he was instructing his players not to sit back, and they did it anyway, which was confirmed by Kane. Okay, so if Mourinho was telling them to attack and they weren't, what makes you think that Conte isn't telling them to attack and they're also likewise not listening to him? Yeah. Again,
by the way, Dan E, another thing.
Blame Conte. Anyone who wants to blame Conte as the principal problem here right now needs to either be honest about the fact that they have got an agenda, or go and watch some football properly.
Or thirdly, get a bloody brain transplant.
Can I say something? Because I have to say I disagree with Rez here on certain.
How dare you, Tommy?
On a certain point. When it comes to the evolution, when it comes to the evolution of the game, I definitely disagree. But I certainly agree with Rez's overall point. Football has evolved. All sports evolve over the 50 years. It definitely has. You just got to look at the
It's
format.
evolved a bit, Tommy. It's evolved a little bit. I agree. There have been changes, certainly in the sphere of health and fitness, and that's a 100% sea change.
Exactly.
But the idea that they're selling isn't that football doesn't evolve. It's this idea that there's this massive step change that all of a sudden managers become outdated because of a tiny little new thing.
Of course, and I agree with that side of it. I agree with that side of it. But when you said it, Rez, you passed that by. You passed the fitness levels by. The fact that the fullbacks are so imperative now. The goalkeeper as the 11th man. Things have certainly evolved. It happens in all sports.
Not massive changes. That's the thing. They're not. Listen, if you let's say, for instance, you had manager 1 and he plays with a goalkeeper that isn't particularly good at distribution, and then you've got manager 2 who comes along who institutes this idea of a goalkeeper that has good distribution and actually does that. The change between manager 1 or what manager 2 does isn't going to completely destroy any effort that manager 1 makes. Also, that's the way that journalists talk, and that's what we swallow.
And what happens is it evens itself out because the teams around you evolve and it levels it out. But and
it takes a long time. It takes 50 years for things to become outdated like that.
Still applies. So from 50, 60 years ago, the basics of football still apply. And this is why I disagree with you, Manny, when it comes to Conte evolving, because he's been there 14 months. He's been there 15 months. With the defense he's got, you cannot evolve. You cannot play in a more front-foot attacking manner, as we said before, because you get destroyed. You'll get pulled apart. Yeah. You won't finish full. You'll finish where the positions before Conte turned up, 6th, 7th, you regress even more. You finish 8th, 9th, 10th. And if you finish 8th, 9th, 10th, and the Pochettino in fans want to play attacking football, well, it's not going to be that attacking. You're going to lose Kane. You're going to lose Son because they need to play Champions League football. You're going to lose Romero. You're going to lose Bentancur. So let's see your attacking football when you lose those players. Those same fans are going to be marching, trying to get Pochettino out and being like, do you know what? Conte was actually pretty good. We might have, the football might not have been great, but we were fourth and we've been able to keep our best players. Much better than finishing 12th, 13th. So the evolution in 14 months, I don't think is applicable for Spurs. Although, of course, football as a whole has evolved, without a shadow of a doubt.
Okay, Tommy, if I could just respond to you, mate. And first of all, big up to you. I've seen a few of your videos. Wonderful to be on the stream with you. It's wonderful.
Manny, we've done streams before. Yeah, absolutely. One of the least biased Arsenal fans for sure. So I
appreciate that. Thank you. So listen, it wasn't an attempt to sort of pin the entire blame on Conte per se. I am basically saying that, as Dr. Ramlan has said, our respected coach or athletics trainer. I'm sorry. I don't want to be disrespectful of him, but as he was saying, everyone has to sort of buy into the whole thing, whether it's the players or the coach or even the ownership. Problems with the ownership have been going on at several clubs for quite a long time now. Name me one big club, either in contemporary or even past footballing history, that has never seen any level of politicking amongst the top brass. You see it at our lot with the way the Cronkies are running the ship. That's not an example. I call them the Crankies with perfectly good reason. And their refusal to sell and the way they're running their business like a glorified hedge fund, the club, it's just a glorified hedge fund while they throw all of their money and their time and investment back into their sports franchises on the other side of the Atlantic. We all know that. And those are things that, pretty much can't be controlled unless the entire fan base is willing to unite. And one thing for which I will credit the Tottenham fan base, is that all of you, including everyone in this panel, seem to be united about the fact that ENIC and Levy are the big problems and they need to leave.
Oh no. Unfortunately not, man. Unfortunately not. And there lies the problem.
If only, Manny. If only. If that was the fact, I would be such a happy man. You know,
you're actually a minority.
You wouldn't just be a happy man, Rez. You'd be supporting a club that doesn't underachieve because it's, you know, we've got people afraid to blame their own fan base. But, you know, in many ways, you know, we deserve this. We won Carabao Cup in 23 years, over 46 transfer windows. No other fan base would take this. Not with Kane and Son.
There are people out there. I'm no word of a lie. On an actual Spurs stream, I have heard someone say trophies are not the only measure of success for a football club.
I know who you're talking about.
We all do. Yeah, we all do.
If that's the case, to anyone who thinks that, I would say, okay, in that case, go and fucking support HSBC.
And right? Manny, and Manny, I have to make this clear. You're a fantastic co-host on Stephen Featley's TV channel.
Yeah.
God bless Stephen Featley, by the way, and him and other Arsenal fans. I saw amongst the streaming community, even in January when Arsenal were top, they were still asking the board for more. We need a centre mid. We need a left winger. We need a centre mid. They went out and got Jorginho.
Yeah.
Not the greatest signing, but they had a backup plan because they wanted Saicedo from Brighton, got rejected. They had a backup plan. They got Jorginho. They put him in there. They got Trossard. Look what Trossard's doing. It's absolutely fantastic. So, and your fan base got on the owner's back, and it makes the difference. If the fan base get on the owner's back, it pushes them to make changes. And I tell you what, it happened in the Man United game. I don't go to too many Spurs Man United games. I haven't been Spurs games, I should say. I haven't been to a single one this season. But I was at the Spurs Man United game when Nuno got sacked. Levy out chance, one round. Next day, Nuno was sacked. A few days later, Conte came in. January window. Penultimate day of the window, it looked like the poor deal collapsed. Penultimate day. Twitter went mad. It went crazy. Next day, Levy's on a flight to Portugal. He gets the deal done. So social media, Levy in thank you. Levy out chance make a difference. Social media make a difference. It got a president elected. Twitter alone got a US president elected, for fuck's sake. Social media is powerful, and it works with all ownership. It worked with Arsenal, and now they're reaping the benefits. And they're probably going to go on to win the title. It's 20 points clear of us. 20 points clear with 10 games to go. Incredible.
But more to the point, and the success of the club, we still haven't gone out and bought bloody decent defenders.
Yeah.
Dyer's still there for a start. And he's the worst bloody defender in the Prem, I think.
In 2 years, not a single defender bought. Since Romero, we haven't bought a single defender.
Exactly. And what's been needed in that side? What is the golden rule of building a team? You build from the back.
Yeah.
And we still haven't done it. How many?
As the great Alex Ferguson says.
How many bloody lessons have we got to learn? Huh?
As Alex Ferguson says, goals win games, defenses win titles.
Bang.
Exactly.
Bang.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is it.
One last point here I want to make as well. We still haven't got a midfield string puller. Modric, Eriksen. Nobody's in there pulling the strings.
No. Bentancur was getting there, but he's now dead because and also because of the fact that we scrimp on our medical department as well. Another cost-saving measure. We don't have decent medical. That's why our players keep coming back, crocked and unable to fulfill their previous potential. Look at Kulusevski. Since he's come back from injury, he has not been the player he was.
No, it's been rubbish.
And this is an unpopular opinion I'm about to put forward here too. Bissouma in the summer was not who we needed. Not in the summer. He was not what we needed at that point. Fantastic player, Bissouma. Probably worth £50 million. But because he was available for 30, we got it. We needed a creative centre midfielder. We know we don't play with number 10s under Conte, but someone deep like a Brozovic, like a Ward-Prowse, like a Frankie de Jong, somebody that can create deep with a 35 yard passes. Bissouma wasn't that. He was a player that you could probably get £60 million for in the future, and relatively defensive centre midfielders. And as Rez says, Bentancur looked like he's creating a little bit, but it's not his natural role. He was pushed into it.
Yeah.
He was pushed into it. So yeah, bang on, King Arthur. Basuma, as much as a great player was, he just wasn't what we needed at that point. And the same can be said for Richarlison. I mean, how many games was Richarlison really going to play with Kane up top and the golden boot winner Son on the left? Exactly. I tell you why Richarlison was signed. Richarlison was signed for when Kane gets sold this summer with 12 months left in the contract, and he'll take over the number 9 spot. That's what
yeah. That's where he's going to go. But guys, right?
I just want to raise one other thing again. This is stuff. I want to talk about this us swallowing narratives. Another narrative that came out after the Sheffield United debacle was, why didn't there were journalists saying, Conte or whoever should have played Kane. If you need the England captain to take out a championship side, you don't have strength in depth. Yeah, and that's something that's on the board, not on the manager. He thought that Richarlison could do the business. That's the depth that he's been given, right? But again, we swallow these narratives. These journos, they come up with bollocks, and we then parrot it instead of applying a little bit of critical thinking.
Rez, how long have we needed backup for Kane and Son? How long?
Decades, it seems. Years now.
Years. When we get it, it's cheap tripe.
No, but the thing is that, like, for Kane and Son, we've always known that, right? We needed to get their what call backup or rotational positionings for these type of players for such a long time, right? We bought Richarlison in, who was supposedly being able to play across the back, across the front line, right? So buy one player to cover 3 positions. Why didn't we just buy one player to cover 1 position for every position? So that is what
guys. Right? Guys, can I just say one thing? Just say one thing before we can move on. Can I just say Levy out? Thank you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But guys, before we move on, or before we go to the next whatever we're going to talk about, right? There's a question from Ryan here from Huddersfield Town Fan TV. Foster's been very good since coming into the side. Do you see him as a long-term replacement for Foster? Long-term replacement, Elias?
Sorry, I didn't see the question. The one of the idiot guys is actually just making some stupid remarks. I was a bit distracted. Foster has been very good since coming to. Do you all see him as a long-term goalkeeper for you? No, he is 35 years old. There's no long-term thing when you are 35. Yeah.
Right, he's just been called up for England. He's just been called up for England because Pope was injured. But
because we lack depth in the English squad as well, so it just makes sense.
Right. Okay. Mr. K, Foster, replacement for Lloris?
Well, I think to a certain degree, you got to have yourself a first. The first goalkeeper has to be really, your main man, and your number 2 really has to be the person that's filling in the gaps, that may be doing some early qualifiers for Europe, and I think Forrester is really the perfect goalkeeper for that for our team. If we were really serious about replacing Hugo, we should have really 2 years ago went out and bought Donnarumma when he was still had a contract in his previous club. It was too late to get him when his contract ran out because all the top lucrative teams like PSG were going to get him. But we missed the boat on too many big talents in the footballing in the goalie arena, so that we have to start talking about things like, is Forrester number 1? Could be replaced as number 1. It's an absolute laughable question in the first place. But give my 2 pence on that. Levy out. There's my answer.
And the rest had to go. He had some things to attend to. Big up to the rest. Right, even forgot to ask him to plug his channel. Maybe, but I think this week he's not doing any shows because there's no what we call match going on, or maybe they'll be doing shows, right? Foster, Tommy, do you think?
In the long term, replacing Lloris? No, absolutely not. You know what? I was one of his biggest detractors, even in last summer. 70 grand a week for a backup keeper, 70k. It's a lot of money. And even when we signed him, he was behind Alex McCarthy for 2 years at Southampton. behind Alex McCarthy. It was only the last 6 months of last season where he really got the first team jersey at Southampton. But to be fair, he surprised me because he's played very well since Lloris has been injured. He has done remarkably well. But I think it's a matter of time before we start seeing a few errors from Forster, because he should be a Premier League backup goalkeeper, and that's it. What I will say is, we talked about contracts before. Ben Davies got a 3-year contract at the start of the season, 29-30. Who's going to pick him up in 2 years on a free? Davies. Why are we giving him a 3-year contract? Give him a 2-year contract. Paris Saint-Germain going to sign him in 2 years. Why? Lloris, and we talk about Lloris now, we gave him a 2.5-year extension last season. He's a 35, 36. You give the guy a year and a half. So we're going to struggle to get rid of Lloris this summer anyway, because he's still got a year to go in his contract, 100 grand a week. So look, it can't be Forster. There are a few options, Oblak's contract's coming up at Atletico Madrid. You've got David Raya. Thomas Frank could be our new manager, so that could help. There's a number of options, but Forster can't be one of those options.
Yep. But before we continue, I just like to address a few things in the chat, right, guys? I respect everyone's opinion, right? I don't like name calling too. All right. I understand what you guys feel. We all are Spurs fans, right? Whatever happens in the chats, right? Just as long as it doesn't get nasty, it's okay, right? Sometimes there's a bit of banter that goes on. So I hope, if you feel offended and all that, right? It's for you to understand, right? So I guess all I can say, right? Our show goes on as our show, because most of the time, you must understand, this is a Leave It Out channel, right? But I'm a very, very I'm not moderate, to the sense is that I've gone to the stage that I've gone meh, right? Because I've done a lot of Leave It Out shows throughout the 1 year, but nowadays I do shows not just focusing on Leave It Out. That's why I got Mani here, right, to get perspective of other fans and all that. Because if I really want to do something about the Leave It Out, right, action has to be taken. Doing shows and shouting and moaning, it becomes an echo chamber over and over again. But today we were talking about this subject is because Conte came out with his press conference. I just wanted to find out what are the feelings out there about some fans and all that and how they feel, right? And I'm sorry if you guys in the chats like Dan E and Jay, Rayson, right? You guys feel offended. I'm sorry, right? And I don't block people on the channel unless you become racist or really, really unbearable. Okay. So big up guys for joining the stream, right? Big up, thanks. And if you can, just hit the like and subscribe, right? I like the support, right? And let's get back to our chat here now, right? Sorry. Forster, you were saying, Tommy?
Okay. Let me address this Jay Rayson's comment. Eugene, you're a star and lovely man, but Lai's calling everyone idiot. He's being nasty. Please ask him to behave. I didn't call you idiot. You called us a cult, and I called you out your particular comment as an idiotic one. I didn't call you idiot. So stop moaning about this here, otherwise I'll time you out.
Thank you, Elias. Thank you. Right. We'll just leave it at this, right? Okay, Mr. K, go ahead.
Basically, I think the thing about the Forrester topic is similar to what I think Manny was talking about earlier. That basically the managers, they do have some weaknesses. Every manager does, right? And to a certain degree, there is some culpability within the manager in terms of adaptation. And I think a lot of people miss the fact that some of the managers that have come to Tottenham, like Jose, for example, and Conte included, they have adapted. They have made changes. I think when the Amazon All or Nothing series came out, we all got to see an inside track on how Jose was inside the club. And we were all impressed with the fact that he had changed compared to his outside persona when he came to Tottenham. He made changes according to how he was as a manager and to compensate for the fact of how Tottenham is. But if you look at Conte, for example, he made a statement, I think 3 or 4 months into his tenure as manager. And he said, listen, I was mistaken. I came with the view that Tottenham wanted to recruit like this, that they wanted to win this. But what I found out is that their recruitment policy is really for young players that can gain value over years. And that they really, if they wanted to win something, then they would have to purchase like top players ready-made. And, people like Perisic turned up on a free. The second thing is that he made a comment in January when he was in Italy, where he turned around and said, listen, I don't understand it. We have a January transfer window. You get rid of players, and now we have a smaller squad. Like, I don't understand how that's successful. And then when he came back here and they asked him questions about it, he goes, oh, but I did say that we're more balanced now. So his initial statement is that it's idiotic policies going on. And that obviously, who's involved in that? The board. But when he comes there, he has to be defensive. He can't be confrontational with the board. No manager, if they're ever confrontational with the board, can survive. So the point is now, Conte has reached that point where he's now confrontational with the board, even though he might turn around to the board and say, listen, you know what, sometimes things can be taken out of context. I really meant this, but it doesn't matter. The point is, the green light has now been lit. Everyone everywhere is on a feeding frenzy. Now, even before this occurred, about 2 months ago, the noise had started about Conte out. The noise had started.
The seed has been planted.
Those seeds you spoke about, are now firmly grown into a tree. And us fans that have been seeing this year in, year out, there's nothing new in this rhetoric. Look, I've been out of this game in terms of podcasting, right? Yeah, for about a year and a half, I think. Tommy, you remember I left for a little while, and you hardly ever see me that much in the stream, right? I got asked specifically to come back to this particular stream because these points have to be discussed, and you do need people that have been on the front line, protesting, people that have had sort of love the tactical side of the game. The politics side of the game, for me personally, is all new. I only came across the political side of this only about 2.5, 3 years ago. Before that, I've been very much a tactical type of guy. I love the tactics. I love looking at different types of players and availability. I love to see the different types of formations and so forth, and the different training and dietary and the medical side. And, it's like my brain, when I first came into the political side and was asked to give opinions about certain things, I started to say, well, so far you've got wonderful training facilities, but you got crap coaches to do it. You got wonderful medical facilities, but you got crap medical staff. So I don't understand this idea that just because you got wonderful stadium and you got state-of-the-art training facilities, that it makes for a state-of-the-art football club. It doesn't. You have to then fill it and populate it. And then if you remember what Poch said, listen, there's no point having a wonderfully expensive house if you don't put any furniture into it that's any decent. And not soon after that was he sacked. And this is the same thing we see time and time again, is that we don't listen to the message of what these experts, these people at the top of the game, what they're actually saying. Instead, we start to turn around and say whether they should have said it or not. Fans for a long time wanted to know what was the pay structure of the footballers inside the club. Rose came out and said it, and now all of a sudden he's disloyal to the club. Time and time again, we hear the same narrative, right? And time again, we keep hearing the whispers, which happened 3-4 months before, and then all of a sudden, these whispers have now gained in strength, and they become the tree upon which Levy can now hang the manager and say, "Look, there you go. I've acted. I've done my job. Now let me buy a few more properties, please, with the revenues I'm making." This is blatantly in our face. I don't really, what it is, the fans themselves out there, right? Yeah, they really do shoot themselves in the foot, because if they're going to turn around and start nitpicking at every single mistake that Conte makes, right? Yeah, or has made, which I think for any manager there are plenty. Why didn't he sub this person? Why did he choose that person? At the end of the day, this is the expert. He knows more about what's going on than we do, and yet we're going to double guess him sitting from the stands. I get it that we've been watching football for a very, very long time. We have an instinct of how things can flow. But the reality is, every single one of our managers has been hamstrung with a recruitment policy. Every single one of them. It's blatantly, if you look at it, you will see it time and time again. It's not about how much you spend. It's also about how much you sell. And if you look at it from that point of view, Tottenham has done fantastic. They've actually been making money sometimes in some seasons. We had one of the best defense in Europe. We had the very best defense in Europe. So going back to that Ferguson statement Ferguson statement about, defenses win you titles. We had the defense to give us titles. What we needed was to spend money on the players up front. Poch asked for it. He didn't get it. He got frustrated, and then he got sacked. And one of the techniques that any of these managers get sacked is that their players will let them down. The reason why Conte got so upset about this 3-3 draw was the fact that it's 10 games to go. This is not the time to drop points.
Yeah.
If you drop points now, you will not make up for them. He's disappointed. That's why he said that this was pressure. This was stress. This is pressure. This is stress. You have to win this game. But it doesn't matter how you do it. By hook or crook, you have to win this game. And then when we were up 3-1, he thought, yes, the team has done it. But then they go and do exactly what they've done time and time again since before he was here. And that's what made him upset. He's thinking, what? I've wasted all this time telling them again and again. I've talked nicely to them. I've hugged them. I've caressed their backsides. And yet they're still turning around and done the dirty on me. What the hell's going on? And the reality is, Conte's figured it out. He figured out that 3 months ago, the talk of him having to walk was getting stronger and stronger. The players listen to that talk, and then they capitulate. In other words, they don't carry the fire of the manager. They don't carry his fire onto the pitch. So if they're not carrying his fire, whose fire are they carrying? And when he sees disloyalty, Conte is the type of man that if he sees disloyalty, he will say literally like an Italian, that's it, you're dead to me. And this statement, the outburst that he made, was literal like that. You are dead to me. Why are you dead to me? He's not throwing players underneath the bus because he's a weak and useless manager. Because the first time this happened to him, he turned around and took it on himself and said, listen, you know what? Maybe I'm not the right manager. Maybe I failed. He never once said the players failed. But now he sees disloyalty. He sees it, he feels it. And just as the fans are sitting out there and they can't see what the hell he's going on about, well, guess what? You're not looking at reality. And I've got nothing to do with you guys whatsoever if you believe that Conte is the problem and no one else to blame. Well, guess what? I've been watching it for ages, and I can tell you here and now, Levy is to blame. So Levy out.
Yeah.
We've missed Mr. K. We've missed you, Mr. K. We used to. I think we started around the same time. About 2 years ago, we started. We started at the same time.
Okay, I need to ask Jacob this, right? Jacob, yes or no answer? What is your question? I can't find it, right? Jacob, if you're still there, just put it in. Then maybe I'll answer you. Right, Jacob? Thanks. Sorry, Tommy, go ahead.
So yeah, I think Mr. K started off by saying, we're in a political landscape now. He went from looking at the strategic tactical side of Spurs to moving into the political side. And I was the same. I was a freelance football scout. So when I started on Spurs, the defensive scout, it was always tactical. But then you sack a manager 6 days before a Carabao Cup final, and you continue to fail and you continue to back up your players. The trajectory is naturally going to move towards the political side. And that's where we are. That's where we are as a fan base now. And nothing's going to change. Absolutely nothing's going to change until Levy goes. Unfortunately, as sad as it is, he's not going for at least 5 years, maybe 10 years. 3.5 billion pounds. There's no way.
He won 6.
He's not taking 3.5 billion pounds for this football club.
He won 6.
You can double that. You can double that. He said 3.5 million pounds last time with a racetrack coming in and a cinema and an art gallery and all the Beyonce fucking acts. It'd be Gary Glitter next. Look,
anyone but him.
With all that, it's unfortunately he's going to be around for a very long time, and we have moved towards the political landscape now. It's overpowering the tactical side, but that's where we are. That's where we are as a football club right now.
Yeah, yep. And Jacob, your question is why do fans play the game the owners want? Fans versus fans. It's silly, and people on both sides get personal. It's actually lame seeing fans go at each other. I understand, Jacob, but it is what it is. That's the drama that Levy has inculcated into our fan base. But you were asking me for a yes or no answer. I'm not sure how to answer this yes or no. Jacob,
Eugene, the answer to Jacob's question is we have a split fan base. That's half the problem.
Yeah, the fan base is already split, right? And in that split fan base, there's another split in that fan base. So I don't know what to say. So how are we going to unite the fan base, right? Something drastic might happen, right? But maybe if Conte, that's it. When Conte was appointed as our Spurs manager, I hope that united the fan base to see that we must move forward. The owners are going to support him and give him what he needs to bring us glory, right? But what I've been saying, I've been waiting for Conte to blow up, to walk, to tell what's actually happening, so at least most of the fan base will understand. But like certain people have been saying, each fan has got their own opinion on how they want to support the club, how they want to love the club, and how they see the owners. It's their prerogative to have that right to do what they want to do. And for me, I keep telling you, of course, I'm a Levy actor for such. I mean, since I've been on YouTube, on the channels and all that, I've seen the only thing is because I can't take the lies that he's been giving us all these years. The lies is the things I can't accept. You know, if he was honest and truthful with the fans and tell us what is really what, right? Then maybe I will have a certain degree of accepting it. But the thing is that the lies keep going on, right? And the non-accountability of his actions, right? Of misspending 250 million pounds on players, now misspending up to 500 million pounds on players. There's no accountability. I can't accept that, right? And the biggest lie was when we were building the stadium, right? He said we had funds to buy players. Guess what, guys? We didn't buy a single player for 3 transfer windows. What was all that about? So that's lies again. So, and then it goes back to say, oh, Poch didn't want to buy players. Come on. Poch didn't want to buy players when he was talking about rebuild after that. No way, guys, right? So that's how I see it. But for the fans, I would love the fans to be united, right? To have one heart, one desire, right? To achieve something for the club. Because deep down inside, we're all Spurs fans. We want Spurs to do well. That's all. We want to see a trophy in the cabinet. That's all, right? But if we can't get that, and there's already been seeds of division has been planted for such a long time, I can't do anything about it, right? The only thing is that maybe there will be a catalyst somewhere along this road that we've been on for the past 23 years, right? One trophy in the cabinet. That's all I can say. That's all I can say, right, guys? But
Eugene, just before you wrap up, if you recall, 21, 22 years ago, I met Levy.
Oh, yeah.
I was a guest of the director. You saw the photos as well, right? I was a guest of the directors, and he said to me, to my face, with a witness standing beside me, we are fans just like you are. And what we want to do is to take Spurs over and bring it back to its former glory and win all the trophies. What's he bloody well done? 1 trophy in 22 years.
Yeah. But the thing is that, like, Arthur, no, that's why Arthur has personally spoken to him before, and he has personally told Arthur this, and he has never done anything about it. So it's a lie, right? And for Jacob, maybe a good uniting the fans for just nice to be each other. Yeah, I understand that too. But the problem is that I can't control everyone's behavior because each and everyone has got their own behavior. So, you know, Jacob, it is what it is, right? So I understand what you're saying. Yeah, it's my opinion too. I would love the fans all to be nice to each other, right? To me, is that sometimes I just don't understand the being uncivil to each other and all that.
We did unite. We united when Conte was employed. We united. Yeah. We knew his CV. We knew he won league titles before. There was a togetherness. Even though we've seen the past and not backing up your managers, we believed this time because this was the greatest appointment Spurs have ever made after the worst appointment. Nuno. 13th. I think how do you employ a manager that's finished 13th and sacked with Wolves as the next manager? So the Spurs fans called him out. He was sacked. We got in the best ever appointment.
I think
fans united. I think anyone something now. But at the end of the day, it's about the manager has to unite with the owner. They have to come together and buy the right players for the manager. And again, it's the same story. And if it doesn't happen, then the fans will disengage again. They will absolutely disengage. And even the extreme Levy-outers. I can't speak for you, Eugene, but Stel, Daigle, extreme Enoch out, they did unite. We united for a little while, but it just went south again. And there was no backing. So the fan base is definitely fragmented. But it's important we have these debates. It would be nice. It would be nicer if we got people on stream, not just in the chat. Because, you know, Ian, I like Ian. Ian's brave for coming on, but, you know, where is he now? And where are the Levy-inners? We don't see them. We do not see him on stream. So I respect Ian for even coming on because he is in the minority. When it comes onto the YouTube community, he is in the minority. But where are the rest of them? Where are the rest
No,
of them?
but the problem is that, right? But for Ian, right, he's a decent Levy in a guy who's willing to come down and talk and discuss and have a proper conversation with us, right? That's why Ian has always, even though he's a Levy inner, he's always been like a close friend, right? That's the thing, is that we need to build a community of understanding each other and accepting each other's diverse mindset or opinions and all that. But the problem is that once it gets personal, it becomes name calling and all that. That is the things that sometimes I don't. To tell the truth, I don't even like that too, right?
But I think if you guys remember rightly, right, yeah, from back in the day, I don't know if any of the viewers out there will know this, or some of the panel members will know this, but I used to host the show Talk to K, and Eugene was my regular compatriot in that. And one of the things we did in Talk to K was we would have a very peaceful type of show. We would have a show that was trying to bring people together. And we always wanted to make sure that people didn't feel riled or rattled up. And that was the basic essence of the show itself. So we tried that for a long time. And if people out there thinking to themselves that maybe we don't sound like we're very peaceful people or that we're inclusive people, they're very wrong. We tried that desperately for a long time until it became untenable. And now myself personally, it's like, I don't think it's good for people's health, their medical or mental health, to be constantly upset about the situation in our club. I personally myself have removed myself from an awful lot of podcasts because there's no denying the truth that I see. I did not come into Tottenham community with an absolute absence of any type of footballing knowledge. I came in with an abundant football knowledge. One thing that I wasn't prepared for was the absolutely, the way that the actual political side of our club was actually organized, not just with the board and the fans, but between the fans and the fan, and also the media and the fans. And also one of the reasons why so many Spurs podcasts and so many Spurs channels opened up was because the official channels that were available to us at the time, that were Spurs fans, they were paying lip service to Levy on a constant basis. You can see that now with Chris Cowlin. I love Chris Cowlin. I think he's a wonderful bloke. But unfortunately, I know whose nose he's stuck. I know which arse his nose is stuck up. He is definitely, he can't help it. And people say, well, people can't help it because they're financially are linked in with this and financially linked in with that. Well, guess what? At the end of the day, nothing's stopping you from doing something else with your life. At the end of the day, your ego is too big to allow yourself to do the honorable thing, and that is to side with the fans. No, you're milking the fans, and that's the only reason why you call it a business.
And he
right?
should fall,
you got to put your mouth where your,
He should fall on his own sword, Mr. K.
Well, the thing is there is that you must have something called integrity, and I think this is what I was talking to you earlier about Conte, is that he's tried, just like every other manager, he's tried to do the right thing by not talking about the real goings on inside the club. But eventually, your integrity is going to get hurt so much that eventually you're going to have to spit it out. And that's what Conte's done. He spat it out. And instead of listening to the message, the vast majority of fans out there, because let's face it, the Enoch Out fans, we're a minority. Let's get it straight. We're a minority. Okay?
Yeah,
we definitely are. So those people out there that are linked with the media, with the punditry, and with the fan base that have got themselves on Twitter and all the rest of it, they're going to make all the noise in the world about whether or not he should say something or say something, blame his tactics, blame his subbing, call him a checkbook manager, call him a defensive manager, whatever. I mean, if you're scoring that many goals, apparently you're a defensive manager. Jose's football was very crap, but that season, Kane and Sonny they broke the Premier League record for the combined goals between two players. I mean, how do you do that if you're a crap football manager? The point is this, right? Yeah, is that I can't take this any longer. I've only just come on now just to kind of help you out with this particular show, because I know at this pivotal moment, people need to see some sort of constructive arguments one way or the other. I am very fair. Trust me. That's if I can hold myself together. Okay. Yeah. But we've proven it. Eugene, you and me, we've proven that we can be soft, gentle people. We've done it with our time. And if our message is now straightforward.
So that's why I'm saying, Danny, right? You see, to be honest, I'm not gonna lie. I know you're your first time on this channel, Danny, right? Because this is the first time I've seen you in this chat, right? and right, you watch the channel first time, and to be honest, so hostile. To tell the truth, my channel isn't hostile. It's
really
never
not.
hostile.
It's really
It's
not.
really not hostile. There are more hostile channels out there.
Can I just address this?
It's passionate.
Can I just address that actually? I think the thing here is that a lot of these people, sometimes they get into a chat. I would love to have a conversation with them, as long as they are talking about football, as long as they are putting up a logical argument. The moment they start using slurs and words, when they start getting personal, that's when actually I cannot tolerate it. Like that earlier guy, who was just getting unbearable to a certain extent, he actually got personal. If he wants to have a proper argument, like even if he wants to say that he has a logical way of describing what a cult is, I would love to have a conversation with him. But he got personal. He started using personal slurs and all that. That's where it gets hostile. Otherwise, I love to have conversations with people who are of different opinions, if they want to just have a proper conversation rather than getting personal and start attacks. That's where I don't tolerate.
We all love football, don't we? We all love.
But what I'm saying, right?
But at the end of the day, it is trivial. It is trivial. We've got friends, family.
Mani here, right, is an Arsenal fan. He's sitting in this conversation, right? Like, you've been through this before, right? Because when you went through your Wenger time, when AFTV was there, right? You've seen all this thing go on, right? But is your fan base the same like Spurs? Are you that divided? Or do you have factions in this kind of scenarios? So the inners and the outers, outers have got their own factions within the outers and all that?
I think most of us, Eugene, are sort of united in the fact that the Cronkies have been pretty much the problem. But there's starting to be a little bit of a fragmentation, with some people sort of starting to tolerate them, especially given, the position we're in. It just goes to show that nothing succeeds like success. So there are those fragmentations. You've got the Arteta inners, you've got the Arteta outers. Some Arteta outers either want Kroenke to stay, some of the others want him to go. So there is that little bit of fragmentation, and whenever I go on Twitter, whenever I see some of these podcasts, you sort of have an idea why I try to avoid the AFTV messaging, because you take a look at what they're trying to do. They're trying to sort of create an air of needless positivity. I won't say toxic positivity, but it is, needless, because you can't really put a positive spin on exiting the Europa League at the round of 32 stage on a penalty shootout, especially when many of you, in fact, were bigging up that competition as one that you really wanted to win and were, in fact, going to win, and then have the nerve to come out after the fact and say, you know what, bigger fish to fry. We just the good thing is, once we secure Champions League football, we won't have to play in the Europa League anymore. Well, what's the guarantee that you're even going to go, that you're not going to be back in the Europa League? With the tactics that Arteta employed, and the fact that we're not even going to be seeded once we get into the Champions League main draw, we could end up drawing two really tough teams in our group. There's no guarantee that we're going to qualify from the group stages. So we have a section of fans basically who try to portray the image that by being positive about everything, you're really supporting the club. But in reality, what you're doing is just patronizing everything. And I'm reminded of a wonderful quote from Denzel Washington in the film Remember the Titans. He said, "Yes, I may be mean to my players, but I'm the same mean SOB to everyone, regardless of who they are, regardless of what color they are, regardless of what position they play. You're not doing any favors by trying to patronize them and support them. All you're doing is crippling them." And so what these people are doing with AFTV is effectively trying their best to cripple the club. And that's why you've got people like myself and a few others who try to exercise some critical thinking and say, that nobody alone is to blame, but there has to be some level of accountability all around, and something has to change. And yet we're the ones who want change, but the other people who are happy with everything the way they are just don't see it that way. And what angers me is that these were the same people who were the loudest ones clamoring for Wenger to leave. Make it make sense.
Yep, that's true. But guys, I'll be ending the show soon. We've gone in for nearly two hours and 50 minutes, right? I just have to say a big shout out to our guys before we have our last thoughts, right? Elvin Ching, big up. Thanks for being on. Jacob, right? Danny, thanks for being on for the first time. If you could just subscribe to the channel, right? Who else do we have? Step Up Spurs is Elias. Big up Ben, right? Scott M is always there. If Scott M is not in the show as a panelist, he's always a troll in the chat. Yeah, Scott M is a professional troll. Yeah, Bobby K, big up to Bobby K too, right? Bobby K says, I think Levy out crowd is a minority because a large portion of our fan base isn't concerned with the business. Yep, true. Yep, it's true.
And that's the big problem. That's the big problem, because if you are a stakeholder in the club and people talk about how we should try to adopt the German model of 50+1 and so forth, you've got to be concerned about your business. It's like you have a business, you've got some accountants working under you. You need to know what the hell's going on with your finances. You want to know that you're not being swindled out of your dosh.
Yeah, that's true. Dave MS, thanks for being on. First time too. Luca 14. Haven't seen you a long time, Luca. Reload, big up to Reload too. And Hanno is Conte out. Yeah, Hanno, big up Hanno. Hanno's a Chelsea fan, right? He's got his channel, Coach Corner, right? Who else do we have? Of course, we got Guguma. Big up Guguma. Eva Man. We got Eva Man. She's from Hong Kong. Spurs fans from Hong Kong, right? Who else do we have in the chats?
There's a lot of nice people. There's a lot of nice oldie people that we know that have been watching this type of streams for ages.
And of course, Jay Rayson. Yeah, big up to Jay Rayson. If you have subscribed, please subscribe, right? And most probably, who else do we have? Oh, yes, we forgot about Ryan, Huddersfield Town fan, TV, right? He's the one who put in a question about what it called? Foster, would we take him? But to tell the truth, I won't take him. He's too old, right? We need a younger for a long-term goalkeeper kind of thing. And of course, Tommy. I don't know how that came up, Tommy, right? I was just I didn't purposely pick this up, Tommy, right?
Watch the stream where that begun.
Yeah. You know who that is, right? That's Barry, Nick.
You know what it is? That's the old meme under when you were changing your channel from back in the day. The number of times you changed it. That meme is very old, but it's gold. Thank you.
Yeah, Tommy. You all should know that Tommy's changed his name channel for a lot of times, right? Big up to Swifty.
It's been a year and a half. I'll change it twice, and it's been a Hotspur hood for a year and a half. Leave it up.
Yeah. Before that, what was
it's still in our memories. Tommy Dogs.
Yeah, you ain't gonna run away from that. From Spurs Zone to TTB, right? We couldn't even say Tommy Talk Balls then.
You can't go with that. You can't run with Tommy because it just turns into Tommy Talks bollocks or Tommy Talks bullshit throughout. So
Bobby K, big up to Bobby K too, right? Big up. Those were the nice days, right? When Tommy Talks balls and then the dogs came along, right? Oh, I miss those nice days, and I don't know why. As time goes by, right, we become more and more toxic with each other. Right, the divide becomes worse, and of course we got Phil P. Woo! Big up Phil P. Right, big up to Phil P. too. If I miss anyone else, right? Oh, we got Daniel Sandoval. Big up to Dan Sandoval. I guess these guys are from the Kaufman coffee companies, right? And Mark Cousins. Big up to Mark Cousins. Yeah, that is the coffee rate from the coffee rate. Who else do we have? NS Sports. Okay, Nippon. Big up Nippon. I guess you'll be working now. Tony Rodriguez, right? We got Tony Rodriguez in the chats too. Big up to all you guys. Have I done? Ingwa's back in Malaysia now, right? I had lunch with him earlier. Mr. K, Mr. K, smash the likes and subscribe, right? Big up to Mr. K. Right, guys.
There's Luca AFC is there as well.
Hey, Luca, big up Luca. Yeah, we're ending up the show now. We're ending the show. Thanks, Dan, for subscribing. Right. Before we end the show, right? Last thoughts, Elias?
No, I mean, sorry, it just got a bit heated today with the comments. But again, it was a.
Yeah, I'm gonna take your moderator rights away, Elias.
Yeah, can take it away. No, I'll tell you actually that guy is a proper troll. I'll prove it to you later.
Yes. Yeah. They're all trolls in the chats, Elias. We are trolls, you know. We started as trolls before we became actually.
Yeah, I started as a troll. But
we're the original.
I'll tell you why.
We're the original trolls.
Poachers turned gamekeepers, as they'd say back in the UK.
I'll tell you the proper reason why.
Yeah, later we'll talk about it later, right? Okay, last thought, Elias. so we can close
Yeah,
up
I
the
think
show.
it was a really good show, and I think good to have all the people here today, and so it's a good chat with you, Mani, as well, regarding the perspective that you bring on sometimes from being an Arsenal fan. So I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I mean, this international break actually is going to be the time I think we're going to see a lot of this kind of heated battles in the chats, in the comments. The other day I was telling Tommy that if we lose or draw, I think the next 2 weeks are going to be a disaster in the Spurs fan base, and we're going to see a lot of that these 2 weeks. But guys, let's just chill a bit, focus a little bit on the international football scene as well. That would do well, and I'm thinking of doing a few streams as well regarding the England versus Italy game, or maybe some of those kind of stuff as well, to just see.
That's good.
What
Plug my channel
the
too. Don't forget.
international scene is from here.
Step Up Spurs, guys. Don't forget, right? Go and subscribe to Step Up Spurs if you love Elias.
No, they don't love me. They don't love me.
Yeah, I've subscribed
just
to you already, by the way.
Yeah. If you don't love Elias and you hate Elias, please go and subscribe to him. Right?
Yeah, come and troll me. Then I'll have a proper conversation with you guys.
Yeah. Go and troll Elias, right, when he's doing his shows, right? Mr. K, any last thoughts?
I'm grateful for you asking me to come onto this show. I'm incredibly honored to be amongst the different panel members which are here, the ones that ain't here, the ones that have left as well. Honestly, I think these panel members, all of them have got high degrees of integrity. We may differ with each other, but we've stayed on stream and we haven't been yelling at each other, which shows that we have definitely got good manners, and we definitely have knowledge on the individual subject side that we have. Maybe at certain times we might disagree, but the only point I'd like to make out is the fans and the viewers that are watching right now. Thank you very much for turning up and putting up with us for about 2.5 hours. If you can possibly put into the comment section, Levy out. If you possibly could. So I'd like to finish off by saying Levy out. Thank you.
All right, that's good. Tommy, any dogs?
I'm getting out of here before we're taken over by Arsenal fans. It seems like we've got Arsenal fans in the chat right now. Let's get out of here.
Luca's looking for you, right?
But I want to say, fantastic panel that I came into. What an unbelievable panel I came into. Fantastic panel overall. Big up Manny for coming here. Very articulate, even though we disagree on most of what we talk about. You know, very, very articulate and always brave to come onto a Spurs YouTube channel. So fantastic panel. Great people in the chat. Seeing so many of the community come in here is fantastic, and I feel like it is important to get discussing with the divide with both sides of the fan base. But yeah, it can't get personal. Absolutely, you cannot get personal. But I've enjoyed today's stream. It's sacrilege, Eugene, that you're not even up to 500 subscribers yet. I've seen you've got subscribers just today, which is how it should be. So if you haven't subscribed to Eugene, absolutely subscribe. And I know a lot of these people watching the recording, not live, so make sure you do it on there too, and you can get in the comments there as well. So I've enjoyed this. It's been absolutely fantastic. Very, very unique what Eugene offers here. So you have to subscribe. Absolutely. I just want to say I can't wait. I can't wait to go live.
Wait for your show.
I haven't been able to go live since Saturday, the Conte announcement. I haven't gone live. I've been thinking about it, but I haven't. So I'm holding off till tomorrow, where we have a lot of guests on Hotspur Hood, and I can finally go live and really say.
Yeah, maybe by tomorrow, the news will come out from the club, right? Maybe Conte will get sacked. Maybe the club will say we're going to support Conte. Right? We'll never know what's going to happen. Right?
Who knows? This is Spurs. Things change from minute to minute, hour to hour.
Yeah. Tommy, let us know what time you're going to be going on there. You know, broadcast it on Twitter or let the messaging know. It'd be interesting. I've been on your stream for ages.
9 p.m. You always have a bit of fun at the end as well, like a
listen, you know what? I might
Mr. K and Bob, we had some fantastic. We had some fantastic fights. Let's call it that on a Tuesday night.
That was 2 years ago, right?
So passionate and friends.
Yeah,
and passion. That's what we're here for. It's not, can't all hold
and the
hands.
respect. The most important thing is the respect that we have for each other. We must respect each other. That's the most
Nobody wants to see everybody holding hands and singing Kumbaya, especially when the fan base is this divided. It's fantastic that we get the opportunity to do this.
Big up, Tommy.
Right? Big up, Tommy. And Tommy, your show? You haven't decided? Tomorrow, 9 p.m.
Yeah, 9 p.m. I only do.
Guys, don't forget
live shows now.
Subscribe to Gospel Hood, right? Tommy talk about.
Yeah, the links are all in the chat.
Links are in the chat. That's good. That's good. Thanks, Elias.
sweet,
Right.
sweet.
And Arthur, King Arthur, our most veteran of the Spurs community. He's the only one that's actually seen us lift the trophy, right?
Yeah.
So
the double.
And the double. Right. So any last thoughts?
Yeah, just to say a big up to you, Eugene. Big up to the rest of my fellow panelists today, and especially big one to Manny. He's very brave coming on amongst Spurs fans. Bless you. Manny. And very articulate, Manny.
Yeah,
it's a pleasure,
Your Majesty.
It's a pleasure listening to you, my friend.
Yeah. And of course, I'll leave it to last, Manny. Your last thoughts.
Yeah. Basically, like, the reason why I come on here is not to, as I said, I come in peace. And whenever I see a lot of issues going on with the football club, I do empathize. Good. Empathize, really, with what you're going through. And I can relate to a lot of the issues. And I'm going to be one of those people who's also saying Levy out, because in as much as, I may have my issues with the manager or even some of the players, I know that the fish rots from the head down. So the board has to take some of the responsibility, especially those at the top, if things don't quite go to plan. And, change has to come from the top down. It's the only way that people can move forward. But until then, hopefully there will be a resolution between the manager and the players also will start to pull their weight. I'm not saying that Conte was what Conte said was wrong necessarily, and it goes back to the segueing of the issue of, instead of focusing on the message, why are we focusing on whether or not he should have said that? And maybe it's a question of the timing, I guess. It sort of reminded me in a way of when Roy Keane came out late on in one season and said that his teammates just weren't trying hard enough. And a lot of people slated him for it because every single player at that level apparently gives it their all. And comments like that don't foster team spirit. And Keane went on to have a pretty poor game that season. Specifically, it was the second to last game of the 2002 season when Arsenal won the league at Old Trafford. He was the only United player that performed very poorly. So... Again, all of these comments can be spun both ways. I think we can all agree that instead of, we can all agree that maybe responsibility can be shared in some ways, but the bulk of the responsibility should definitely lie with, the way things have been run by the board. And they have to go. It's as simple as that. And hopefully things will be resolved. And finally, one question. If you don't want to get Fraser Forster, you might consider trying to go for the Milan goalkeeper, Mike Maignan. I think he'd be a decent buy, unless of course
we wanted to get him. No, the fan base wanted to get him before he went there. Yeah, we definitely wanted him.
Yeah, but then we never do that. So.
Yeah, but in addition, don't even think of trying to sign Emi Martinez, an ex-Arsenal goalkeeper. I'm sure would be a no-no.
Yeah.
you never know. You never know. All right, and thanks.
I know he's a world champion, but
apparently we're interested in Szczesny. So.
Yeah. Of course, interested in who?
Szczesny from Juventus.
Szczesny,
Arsenal guy.
Another Arsenal, yeah. Might just go for a Ramsdale then, right?
You can have him.
I know I don't like him, right? But guys, thanks for being on, right? Just a warning: the outro is going to be a bit loud, right? Here it goes. Oh, but guys, I forgot. And as always, Levy out.
Levy out.
I'll see you there.